Chapter 1694. Qiao Xian's eye opened up. Mrs. Guan continued her tirade in front of Qiao Xian, portraying the former bailiffs as ruthless robbers who had assaulted her old master, resulting in his bone fracture. How dreadfully certainly, she omitted the truth. According to her version, the former bailiffs had gathered at their residence after being dismissed by Lord Xiao. Seeking old Master Guan's assistance, they were met with rejection. Surprisingly, they grew disheartened and initiated a brawl. The more Mrs. Guan spoke, the more convinced she became of this narrative. Each word fueled her sense of injustice. Occasionally, she cast blameful glances at Qiao Xian, as if Xiao Yunduan was solely responsible for Deputy Prefect Guan's predicament. Portraying old master's push, injury, and fracture as insufficient, Mrs. Guan also painted a poignant picture of her family's misery. Qiao Xian had her eyes opened. The dramatic performance seemed remarkably convincing. If she wasn't aware of the intricacies, she might have believed it. Sympathy filled Qiao Xian's eyes as she sighed. I never expected such a turn of events. We women lack the art of deception. These words circulate, and discerning their truth becomes challenging. Mrs. Guan, if you feel wronged, why not return and discuss it with Deputy Prefect Guan? We can present the case in court, letting the citizens impartially judge it in public. It would spare Mrs. Guan a lot of trouble. Implicitly, Qiao Xian made it clear she didn't believe a word of Mrs. Guan's story. So, accusing Lord Xiao and blaming him for the Guan family's woes was out of the question. Mrs. Guan was infuriated. Was there no sympathy at all? After her lengthy narration, this was the response she received? Had Lord Xiao been involved right from the beginning? If it weren't for Lord Xiao seeking personal revenge and the subsequent suspension of his old master, the chain of events leading to his current state wouldn't have unfolded. Naturally, the situation wouldn't have escalated to this point. At this juncture, Mrs. Guan refrained from demanding responsibility or compensation. Surprisingly, Madame Xiao displayed no embarrassment and dismissed the matter. Public trial? I wouldn't dare. Mrs. Guan sneered. Some people are shameless. If they don't participate, they'll face slander, and no amount of washing will make them clean. Poor old master. He dedicated himself to helping Lord Xiao, only to end up in such a state. Qiao Xian, growing annoyed, retorted, Mrs. Guan, if you believe Deputy Prefect Guan is unjustly treated in his position, why not suggest he resign? Though he hasn't been with our lord for long, Lord Xiao has always been generous. He would undoubtedly receive a substantial compensation package and not suffer a loss. Mrs. Guan abruptly stood up, her expression changing. Madame Xiao, what do you mean? Are you trying to drive our old master away? Is this your idea or Lord Xiao's? Qiao Xian stared at her. I also want to ask Mrs. Guan, why have you come here to share all this nonsense with me? Don't insinuate anything. I don't comprehend your implications. Let's clear things up. You are the one feeling wronged. Why should I be the one accused of wanting to dismiss you? If you're aggrieved, you have the choice not to endure it. Chapter 1695. Embarrassed. Also, my lord has only been in An's province for a few days, but I'm unaware of Deputy Prefect Guan's contributions to my lord. Why don't you provide me with a detailed account, Mrs. Guan? Qiao Xian had extended courtesy by not immediately dismissing her. Didn't Mrs. Guan realize that whatever situation she was in, she had brought upon herself? What did it have to do with Qiao Xian's family? Rather than feeling guilty, Mrs. Guan had the audacity to approach her and spew unpleasant remarks. By not expelling her outright, Qiao Xian believed she had already shown considerable restraint. However, Mrs. Guan pushed her luck, shifting blame and accusing her husband of ingratitude. It was unreasonable to expect Qiao Xian to tolerate such behavior. Mrs. Guan seethed with anger, visibly trembling. Maintaining composure, Qiao Xian said calmly, I am going to rest, Mrs. Guan, please. She had no desire to engage with Mrs. Guan any longer. Mrs. Guan sneered and left without a backward glance. Fearful of her old master's scolding, Mrs. Guan refrained from sharing the encounter. Unable to find an outlet for her anger, she covered her face, and tears streamed down. Xiao Yunduan breathed a sigh of relief with the armed forces under his command. He wouldn't undertake anything without confidence. Even with the 60 troublesome bailiffs, he remained unfazed. In addition to Sun Bai, Sun Qian, Jing Sang, and others, he had 50 trusted aides supplied by Meng Wanfu and Ding Xiang. These individuals operated covertly, residing discreetly in the heart of An City. Half of them lived in the mansion jointly acquired by him and Qiao Xian, taking great care to avoid detection. Hence, only Qiao Xian, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, Jing Sang, and Songshi were privy to their existence. Xiao Yunduan had provided the list of former bailiffs, and his men were tailing them with their exceptional skills. It was, of course, impossible for the former bailiffs to outmatch them. After dealing with the bailiffs, the focus shifted to the scribes. Xiao Yunduan instructed his men to locate the scribes who were either sick or on leave from work. For those unable to return immediately, he set a clear deadline and had it documented on paper. The reasons for their absence and the duration of their leave had to be truthfully filled in. Verification might be necessary later, and deceiving a superior was not a matter to be taken lightly. Obtaining understanding from a superior under such circumstances was undoubtedly challenging. If the absence prolonged, resignation might be a better option. The functioning of the government office could not be indefinitely delayed for someone. If they couldn't return, replacements would be hired. Furthermore, those frequently falling sick or claiming poor health were deemed unsuitable for the job. Such individuals were even more deserving of dismissal. However, Xiao Yunduan wasn't heartless. Anyone choosing to leave would receive 3 months' salary, not a cent less. Upon receiving the news, reactions among the scribes varied. Some were enraged, others embarrassed, angry, or panicking, and some were filled with regret. However, none dared to disregard the directive. The lesson was right before their eyes. Initially, when Lord Xiao targeted the bailiffs on leave, they had anticipated his humiliation. Assuming he wouldn't dare touch the scribes, they focused on the bailiffs. Yet, the bailiffs proved challenging, their sheer number posed difficulties, and legal repercussions couldn't be easily applied to the masses. Chapter 1696. He can do it again. They had doubted Lord Xiao's ability to handle the situation. Unexpectedly, within just a few days, those individuals had already disproceed euro in this critical moment. Lord Xiao sent someone to seek them out, leaving no room for exploitation. Faced with such clarity, none dared to stir up trouble. While the bailiffs were shameless, the scribes were no different. Hearing about Deputy Prefect Guan being assaulted by the bailiffs, they couldn't approach Deputy Prefect Guan for advice. The potential consequences were unknown. Consequently, the following day, the scribes dutifully reported to the government office. Most of them were cultivated talents, and a few were child students. As scholars, they upheld a sense of dignity. Upon meeting, they didn't appear awkward at all. Smiles and greetings were exchanged as if nothing had occurred. They greeted Xiao Yunduan with the same nonchalance. Internally, Xiao Yunduan sighed. It was commonly said that officials were as slippery as oil, and these individuals were undeniably superior. While he harbored little fondness for many of them, their cooperation was necessary for the smooth functioning of the government office. As long as they didn't cause trouble, he didn't need to concern himself too much. Among them, a few were particularly crafty and cunning, having long colluded with Deputy Prefect Guan. Dealing with them was on his agenda, though the time wasn't ripe just yet. Certainly, leniency was an option. If they corrected their course in time, avoiding a point of no return, he might spare them. However, these considerations were likely his alone. They wouldn't believe in his commitment to staying indefinitely or in his capabilities. Having been with Deputy Prefect Guan for so many years, convincing them wouldn't be easy. Xiao Yunduan was mentally prepared for the worst. If they couldn't align with him and instead awaited opportunities to cause trouble, Xiao Yunduan couldn't afford to keep those individuals. The intermediate government office lacked unity, making it ill-equipped to contend with the three families and the bandits, let alone confront them. A weak link could easily drag down the entire team, jeopardizing the favorable situation. After addressing the issue with the bailiffs, Xiao Yunduan dispatched a message to Deputy Prefect Guan the next day. He tactfully avoided any mention of the bailiff's visit to his house, having already imparted a lesson. Xiao Yunduan focused on the topic of spring farming, inviting Deputy Prefect Guan to the government office for a discussion. Mrs. Guan reacted with fury upon hearing the news. "What does Lord Xiao think of you, old master? Does he believe he can come and go as he pleases? If he wants suspension, so be it. If he wants you to return and work for him, let him make the request." "Humph, it's not that easy." Deputy Prefect Guan was taken aback. Initially, he hadn't entertained this perspective. However, his wife's words prompted him to reconsider, and the more he pondered, the more it seemed plausible. Dejected, aggrieved, and depressed initially, Deputy Prefect Guan found himself trembling again. He could make a stand. Deputy Prefect Guan held a different view from the others. Xiao Yunduan had personally conveyed this message to him, and the urgency was palpable. What did this signify? It suggested Xiao Yunduan was at a loss, relying on Deputy Prefect Guan for assistance. In other words, Xiao Yunduan didn't know what to do and could only seek Deputy Prefect Guan's cooperation. Chapter 1697. Raising the price. This reaction was quite expected. Xiao Yunduan lacked experience and felt lost when faced with significant matters. If he didn't seek help, who else would he turn to? With spring plowing approaching, this was the opportune moment. But then again, shouldn't there be an attitude of seeking assistance? Deputy Prefect Guan sneered. Who did Xiao Yunduan think he was? He had cunningly deceived him in the bailiff incident, and now he wanted Deputy Prefect Guan to worry about labor and work for him? Even if he were the Lord Prefect, he couldn't expect such favors. The plan was to make Xiao Yunduan panic, leave him helpless, and then showcase Deputy Prefect Guan's capabilities, making it clear who Xiao Yunduan should rely on in An's province. Moreover, the bailiff incident had inflicted significant losses, causing him to lose face. He needed someone to compensate for it, and Lord Xiao seemed wealthier. Therefore, Deputy Prefect Guan politely declined. Through the housekeeper, he conveyed his message with utmost courtesy. Due to his injury and ongoing recovery, he had no choice but to trouble Lord Xiao temporarily. He assured Xiao Yunduan not to worry, promising to share the burden once he recovered. Maintaining a composed expression, Xiao Yunduan calmly accepted Deputy Prefect Guan's response, advising him to prioritize recovery. Regarding the errand, Deputy Prefect Guan could attend to it once he regained his health. As a gesture of gratitude, Xiao Yunduan instructed Songsher to prepare a gift for Deputy Prefect Guan. Deputy Prefect Guan felt even more satisfied with himself. What did Lord Xiao's actions signify? It seemed like he was bowing down to Deputy Prefect Guan. It appeared he had made the right move. Deputy Prefect Guan settled into a sense of assurance, deciding to ignore Xiao Yunduan for a few more days. Favors, in his perspective, were best bestowed upon someone when they were at their most vulnerable and helpless. It made the assistance seem all the more valuably a concept akin to saving people from fire and water. This approach ensured that the other party would remember the gratitude, unable to deny it even if they wished to. As for Xiao Yunduan's plans, Deputy Prefect Guan remained in the dark. Xiao Yunduan was accustomed to orchestrating events, offering Deputy Prefect Guan an opportunity by extending the ladder. If Deputy Prefect Guan had learned from the bailiff incident, he would have seized the chance and followed suit. He could then showcase his capabilities to Xiao Yunduan. A sensible person would have taken the initiative to handle the spring planting responsibility without further prompting. However, Deputy Prefect Guan had different intentions. Mrs. Guan's grievances had inflated his sense of importance. He hoped to witness Xiao Yunduan's failure, swooping in as the savior to resolve the issue. This would force Xiao Yunduan to rely on him, demonstrating to everyone that he was more competent than the Lord of Prefect. He yearned for everyone to acknowledge that he still held authority in An's province. Unaware that his resistance could still be won over by Xiao Yunduan's tact, Deputy Prefect Guan remained stubborn. Xiao Yunduan comprehended his mindset. If Deputy Prefect Guan chose to be obstinate, Xiao Yunduan saw no reason to be accommodating. He had done what was required. If Deputy Prefect Guan failed to appreciate it, there would be no second chance. Xiao Yunduan gathered the scribes for a discussion, contemplating his next moves. Chapter 1698. This is a lot of bad accounts. The scribes were either silent, spoke in seemingly logical but empty words, or excessively flattered the lord of the prefect, attributing wisdom and divine insight to him. They all hung onto the lord's every word. Upon re-examining the state treasury booklet, Xiao Yunduan discovered the absence of seeds. This implied that he would need to spend money to purchase them from the three families this spring. While the three families had verbally agreed to supply seeds to the government at market prices, there were no contractual instructions that could serve as evidence. This lack of formal agreements highlighted the considerable influence of the three families in An's province, as well as the former prefect's indifference towards this matter. The account book presented an even grimmer picture. Not only was there no money recorded, but it was also evident that significant debts were owed to the three major family clans and two additional family clans. As Xiao Yunduan perused the list, he found detailed entries of various expenses: building bridges, paving roads, digging canals, aiding victims, and post-flood reconstruction. Yet, these matters were virtually impossible to investigate or scrutinize. In essence, it amounted to bad debt euro, an accumulation of chaos left behind by the previous prefects. After years of unchecked growth, the total debt had ballooned to over 700,000 taels of silver. While this might be a trivial sum in the prosperous state capital of Jiangnan, it loomed as an insurmountable burden for An's province. The few influential families wielded unchecked power in An's province. Over 700,000 taels euro. Even if his wife could amass such wealth, she had only earned slightly more than 1,000,000 taels. Xiao Yunduan's expression darkened as he scrutinized the account book. Had it not been for the considerable financial resources at his disposal, nearly matching those of his wife, he wouldn't have felt the need for immediate caution. The mere sight of this account book was enough to induce a headache. Against the formidable backdrop of the three great clans, he found himself incapable of taking a firm stance. It seemed utterly unreasonable to confront someone after accumulating debts. As the lord of the prefect, any attempt to assert authority, credibility, or character was rendered futile. Observing this, the scribes exchanged subtle glances, remaining as impassive as mountains. They had grown accustomed to witnessing such expressions from the prefects. The outcome was inevitably euro. They would all bow before the three families. The spring plowing couldn't be delayed. Quick preparation and transportation of seeds to various towns were imperative. Villagers from different areas would present their land deeds and purchase seeds according to their land measurements. Government-bought seeds were not only of high quality with excellent germination rates, but they were also reasonably priced. Prioritizing the people's livelihood had always been a focus of Great Qin. Local officials dared not tamper with the distribution of spring and autumn seeds, as any discovery would lead to expulsion and a 3-generation ban on entering officialdom for their descendants. Therefore, the majority of farmers opted to purchase seeds from the government, leading to an extensive demand. Unfortunately, An's province's warehouse was entirely devoid of seeds. Facing this dire situation, Xiao Yunduan, despite being prepared for it, couldn't contain his fury. This discussion naturally ended without reaching any conclusive decision, as none were willing to voice their thoughts openly. Chapter 1699. Not like before, only one scribe sneered. Apart from seeking help from the three great families like in the past, there's no other way. This matter can't be delayed anymore. These seeds must be transferred into the warehouse promptly and distributed to the towns as soon as possible. If we delay any longer, it will be too late. Xiao Yunduan cast a glance at the scribe named Jia Hemming and smiled. If that is the case, then you can make a trip to the three big families. Ask them when they will be able to come, and ask them to hurry up. Everyone, Jia Hemming burst into laughter. Lord, you might not know the local customs, but it's useless for me to go. You have to go personally. That is impossible. Xiao Yunduan raised his eyebrows. I am the prefect. I should not be involved in such matters. The others wore strange smiles as they silently mocked Lord Xiao. He was still too young and ignorant of the three big families' influence. If he insisted on preserving his dignity in front of them, he was bound to face hardships. Young people, indeed, displayed courage and boldness. Yet, they often needed to learn how to navigate challenges when at a disadvantage. Another person reveled in Jia Heming's predicament. This individual had always been self-righteous and condescending. Well, now he had stirred up trouble for himself. He deserved €80. Jia Heming exchanged glances with Xiao Yunduan and refrained from arguing further. He nodded. If you say so, Lord, I will make the trip, but I can't guarantee the result. No surprise there, Xiao Yunduan remarked. You can leave now. Jia Heming, come with me. So, the others, looking scornfully at Jia Heming, whispered amongst themselves as they left. They believed he got what he deserved. After all, he was the one who spoke too much. Following Xiao Yunduan to the back office, Jia Heming was instructed to sit down. Xiao Yunduan queried, I don't think the three families will provide the seeds for free. Do you know what their conditions might be? Xiao Yunduan was unaware of the previous dealings between the prefect and the three prominent families. Though Deputy Prefect Guan might have possessed the necessary information, it was clear he would never disclose the truth. The others in the government office were both tactful and sophisticated, each more reserved and unconcerned than the next. Gathering useful information proved challenging. Xiao Yunduan had kept a close watch on Jia Heming. He perceived him as the only potential source of truthful information within the government office. Slightly surprised, Jia Heming decided to be forthcoming. Lord, the three families have various requests, but they all boil down to seeking profits. The Fan family, with its substantial 150,000 to 160,000 mu of fertile land, prioritizes grain taxes and the food trade. The Hua family focuses on medicinal herbs and mountain products. The Mei family's master is involved in the wood business. You merely need to turn a blind eye and provide them with corresponding benefits and conveniences. Xiao Yunduan comprehended the situation and furrowed his brow. I have reviewed the tax records, and they have consistently paid substantial taxes over the years. Jia Heming emitted a cold laugh. Lord, records are just €30 records. The truth is the truth. The entries in the records are for appearances only. It's not only the three great clans. How many of the smaller family clans, affiliated with the three great clans, genuinely pay their taxes? There are prepayments in the accounts. Regardless of how dignified the reasons seem, there are loopholes. These entries and exits might appear reasonable and flawless, but it's all in the accounts. Chapter 1700. Jia Heming's doubts. The Lord of the Prefect, Deputy Prefect Guan, and certain high-ranking scribes had all reaped benefits from these arrangements. They stood to lose nothing. The state of the government's public accounts was the imperial court's concern and had no bearing on their personal affairs. As long as there was no civil unrest, the imperial court was indifferent. If any prefect lords sought the imperial court's assistance and agreed to resolve the matter, it would not be surprising. However, the prefect lords were reluctant to interfere in each other's affairs. Allowing this debt to persist year after year would only increase the indebtedness to the major families. If the family clans diligently paid their taxes, the public accounts wouldn't be in such dire straits. The substantial businesses of the three major families alone constituted at least half of the local economy. Almost every business in An's province had some connection with the three major families. Jia Heming wasn't aware of the new prefect's plans, and it didn't matter to him. What mattered most was whether the new prefect had the capability to execute those plans. In Jia Heming's perspective, it seemed impossible. Although he didn't mind making the trip to the three major clans, he didn't believe it would end well. That was the reality. Xiao Yunduan understood that Jia Heming wouldn't provide more insight, and he, too, refrained from expressing his thoughts. He instructed Jia Heming, visit the three families and request rice seeds from them. They must ensure that the seeds are of superior quality. Regarding the price, it should align with the market rate, with a slight adjustment to avoid their incurring losses. After collecting taxes in the autumn, we will pay them the silver, settling the interest with the bank. I won't exploit them. Of course, if they agree to this, come to the state office tomorrow. I'll set the contract with them. Jia Heming was dumbfounded. Xiao Yunduan threw a strange look at him. Is there anything you don't understand? I don't understand anything. Lord. Jia Heming suppressed his thumping heart and calmed himself down. You mean, €1 this rice seed is considered a normal purchase by the government and the three big families. You want €1 you won't make things easy for the three big families anymore? Euro in other words a euro lord, are you going to collect taxes from the three families? Xiao Yunduan said, not just the three big families, but also their relatives. Jia Heming, €1 that was not what he meant. Although Jia Heming couldn't stand the fact that the three families had colluded with the state government office to cause chaos in An's province, he couldn't wait for a capable prefect to deal with them. But hearing what Xiao Yunduan said, he could not help but worry for him. Don't go overboard. Jia Heming could not help but say, Lord, these euro forgive me for being blunt, but this matter still needs to be planned slowly. The three big families are local tyrants after all, and their interests and relationships with the big families are intertwined. If we force them into a corner, I'm afraid to be honest, Lord, the state government often can't even give out their salaries and has to borrow from the three big families. If these euro I'm afraid they might not be willing to borrow again. If they don't borrow, other families definitely won't dare to borrow. That will cause chaos euro at the end of the day. Wasn't this a matter of money? Xiao Yunduan smiled. The money was nothing to him. He had to thank his wife. It was all thanks to his wife that he could become an official here safely. Chapter 1701. That's all the reminder. Don't worry, I've thought it through. Jia Heming was stunned and seemed to understand a little. Madame Xiao had bought so many plots of land, and now she was busy hiring people to open up the land. She had no idea what she was going to plant and open up so many plots of land. She had spent a lot of money. It was obvious that Lord Xiao was a rich man. However, no matter how rich he was, it would be difficult for him to support the circulation of a government office for a year. Lord Xiao didn't have a good estimation of the situation. Jia Heming couldn't bear to see this ambitious prefect lord who wanted to expand his career and lead the An's province government office on the right track. He couldn't help but remind him. In the end, he said vaguely, there's one more thing. Forgive me for being nosy. Lord, don't forget that this is An's province. The bandits in An's province are extremely vicious and are really not easy to deal with. The families who can survive in An's province are all quite capably Jia Heming sighed in his heart. This was the only reminder he could give. Lord Xiao was a smart man. He should be able to understand what he was saying. Without evidence, he definitely wouldn't dare to say anything. However, there were some things that everyone knew very well. The reason why the three big families and the big families that relied on them could live so comfortably was definitely not just because they controlled the prefect yamen. More importantly, they must have secretly paid tribute to those bandits. Otherwise, why would those bandits be willing to live in harmony with them? If Lord Xiao wanted to touch those big families, apart from having a lot of money, he also had to be strong enough. Jia Heming felt that this was impossible. Those bandits had been operating for many years and had long become famous. Not to mention those small forces and scattered forces, just the three big forces alone could not be underestimated. They were existences that even the three big families did not dare to provoke easily. How powerful was Lord Xiao? How dare he provoke them? Were they counting on his servants? Or were they counting on these bailiffs who could not even run when they saw the bandits? It was unrealistic. Xiao Yunduan thought for a while and understood what Jia Heming meant. He smiled and said, I understand what you mean. It is okay, I have my own ideas. I will not take the lives of myself and my family as a joke. Jia Heming heaved a sigh of relief. Eurolord, you know what you're doing. I won't say anything else. Then, the three families he definitely had to go. What should he say? Xiao Yunduan said, What did I tell you? What are you going to say? Jia Heming, he really wanted to roar, so Lord, you know what you're doing. Seeing that Xiao Yunduan did not seem to be joking, Jia Heming gave up. Yes, I understand. When they returned to the back office, Qiao Xian was looking at the strawberries planted in the backyard. The small strawberry field had already grown very well. The leaves were fat, tender, thick, and green. The stem was healthy, thick, and full of vitality. It had yet to bloom, but it looked like it would soon. The two of them watched for a while before entering the house together. Xiao Yunduan told Xiao Xian about the seed for a while, and then told her about what he had heard from Jia Heming about the three families. I didn't expect the three families alone to stir up such a mess in the state government office. They probably have a deep relationship with those bandits. Wife, I really want to send you back to Yuzhangyuro. Chapter 1702. Concern is chaotic. When Xiao Xian tried to persuade him, Xiao Yunduan agreed and thought that he could protect her. But now, he was not so confident. The situation here was much more dangerous than he had expected. He had to ensure that he would take it step by step and not make any mistakes. If anything went wrong, all his previous efforts would be wasted. He couldn't afford to bet on Harayuro. Xiao Xian caressed her belly and said with a smile, "Don't worry about me, my husband. Unless those bandits dare to attack the state office, I am safe. They don't have the guts." The imperial court was afraid of them. Now that they had turned a blind eye to them, they were naturally happy to live a stable life. However, if they dared to attack the government office in public and kill the local officials, they would be openly provoking the imperial court. They would be rebelling and looking down on Great Qin. The emperor would never let them go and would definitely send an army to kill them. Otherwise, would the imperial court still be shameless? Where would the emperor's face go? He believed that such a situation was definitely not what those mountain kings wanted to see. Once the imperial court sent an army, they would definitely suffer. Even if they were not wiped out, they would definitely suffer. Therefore, unless it was a life and death struggle, they would never provoke the governmental office. It was not that Xiao Yunduan did not understand this, but he was just confused. Hearing what Xiao Xian said calmly, Xiao Yunduan could not help but burst into laughter, feeling totally relieved. He took hold of Xiao Xian's hands, lowered his head and rubbed against her forehead. He said softly, "I am so lucky to be able to marry you, my wife. The Xiao family has accumulated so much fortune over the past few lifetimes, and it is all thanks to me." Xiao Xian felt very sweet inside her heart, but she was also embarrassed by what he said. She leaned into his arms and smiled. "As long as we do not have the same blessing, it is my blessing." Xiao Yunduan smiled. "As you wish." Xiao Xian's negative karma was still going on. The 3,000 mu of land had been cleaned up, and the trimmed firewood had been brought back to their families by the workers. Now, he was digging roots, grass, and bushes, turning the entire ground over. There were too many different kinds of roots, and some of them were quite huge. There was no way for the iron plow to work normally. Apart from removing all kinds of roots, he had to roughly tidy up the ground and try to make it as flat as possible. Only then could he use the plowing oxen to pull and plow the ground. Each person had 2 meat buns for lunch. There were enough steamed buns and bone soup. The salary was paid every 5 days. The employees were very motivated. Then, Lu Fu and the others checked carefully. The roots and grass were clean. 40 people could clear about 120 to 150 mu in a day. The clearing of weeds and miscellaneous trees in the mountain would be slower, but it had already been completed in the past 2 days. There was no need to dig up the entire ground. They only needed to dig away the roots and bushes. Xiao Xian planned to plant peppers and star anise all over the mountain, so that some herbs could be planted in the flat area at the foot of the mountain. Apart from the place where the herbs were planted, she would plant them well and dig a tree pit on the mountain. According to the current speed, all the land would be sorted out in about half a month. After that, it would not take much time to dig holes and plow. Although time was a little tight, he could still plant all the seeds if he rushed and grabbed spring's tail. Chapter 1703. Reject farming demanded precision, timed perfectly to avoid the detrimental effects of scorching temperatures. The challenge lay in preventing saplings from losing water during extreme heat, as it significantly lowered the survival rate. Yet, these issues posed no obstacle for Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian's extraordinary abilities were more than sufficient to oversee the cultivation of tens of thousands of mu of plants. As the couple immersed themselves in their individual careers, onlookers were left bewildered and uncertain. In the eyes of many, the lord of the prefect was not only engaged in farming but also seamlessly handling governmental affairs. His uncompromising stance and refusal to let anyone take advantage of him appeared, to some, a deviation from the norm. Jia Heming approached the 3 prominent families, seeking their agreement to supply rice seeds based on Xiao Yunduan's conditions. However, none were willing to comply. Even the more amiable ones, like the Hua family, attempted to probe but soon realized the lord of the prefect's unyielding nature. They cited numerous domestic responsibilities and claimed a lack of surplus rice seeds, expressing regret for being unable to assist. Old Lady Fan of the Fan family went a step further, openly berating Jia Heming and severing ties with him. The Mei family adopted a similarly cold stance, rejecting the proposal outright. Jia Heming tirelessly shuttled between Xiao Yunduan and the three major families, engaging in several rounds of negotiations that ultimately ended on sour terms. Old Lady Fan, influenced by her daughter's accounts, developed a negative opinion of Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian. In response, she instructed her eldest son to reach out to the other two families. The trio convened at the Fan family residence to devise countermeasures. Old Lady Fan's face displayed contempt and mockery. It appears our lord of the prefect state is obsessed with wealth. He has set his sights on us. How amusing! Old Master Hua maintained a smile without uttering a word. First Old Master Mei sneered, "Youth knows no fear. This Lord Xiao is unlike his predecessors." Old Lady Fan cackled, "Youth these days so audacious. We elders must guide them to understand the vastness of heaven and earth. We want meddle in this affair, nor shall we permit other families to intervene or lend him money. Let's witness what he can achieve. What do you think?" The Fan family had officially registered 150,000 mu of fertile land with the government, but in reality, it was 200,000 mu. Despite the abundance of fertile fields, hefty annual taxes were a constant burden. Xiao Yunduan's insistence that the Fan family start paying taxes from this year forward enraged Old Lady Fan. The Fan family yielded a considerable harvest annually, mostly sold as commodities. Thanks to the government support, the produce not only sold smoothly but fetched a price that left the Fan family content. Despite offering some benefits to the government, it remained a profitable venture. However, the new prefect lord's demand for taxes on the Fan family's food sales threatened to disrupt their prosperity. Xiao Yunduan was unwilling to ease the process for the Fan family. This prospect left the Fan clan facing substantial losses. In reality, the Fan family's past actions were unlawful, constituting a violation of the law. Xiao Yunduan merely urged them to relinquish their privileged status. Having enjoyed these privileges for years, the Fan family had grown accustomed to them. Xiao Yunduan's attempt to strip away these benefits was seen as an infringement on their rights and interests. Naturally, they resisted. Chapter 1704. Discussion between the three families. As a result, Old Lady Fan seethed with fury. Despite Jia Heming's repeated visits, she consistently taunted and ridiculed him, making him oblivious to the extent of her disdain. The mere mention of the prefect lord would elicit Old Lady Fan's fervent desire for Xiao Yunduan's misfortune. She would then resort to tearful pleas, accompanied by generous offers of benefits to the Fan family. During such moments, she found some satisfaction in venting her anger. Upon hearing Old Lady Fan's sentiments, Old Master Mei displayed contentment and nodded. "Let's proceed with that plan." Old Master Hua chuckled, adding, "Since you've made up your mind, I naturally can't lag behind." In response, Old Lady Fan snorted and rolled her eyes at him. She harbored a strong dislike for the cunning and selfish old man from the Hua family, who always prioritized personal gain. Despite being astute, he never took a step forward, always hiding behind others. Regardless, the Fan family, with its strength, held no fear. Now that the decision's made, let's stand by our word. Everyone, go back and inform your families, relatives, and friends. Old Master Mei and Old Master Hua nodded in agreement. Suddenly, Old Lady Fan's tone shifted and she remarked, "The government still owes us a considerable sum of money, not to mention the interest. What's your stance on reclaiming it?" Old Master Hua and Old Master Mei's hearts skipped a beat at this unexpected turn. They thought to themselves, how ruthless! When it came to being relentless, vengeful, and unyielding, no one dared to challenge Old Lady Fan for the top spot. "Let's proceed cautiously," Old Master Mei advised slowly. Forcing the lord of the prefect into a corner may bring unforeseen changes. We're all seeking wealth. There's no need to escalate matters to that extent at the moment. Old Master Huan nodded in agreement. The Mei family's eldest nephew is correct. A cornered rabbit bites. Moreover, Lord Xiao is known for his temper. Stirring up trouble might not be necessary. The idea of the government owing them money seemed appealing. This way, regardless of who assumed the role of prefect, they would have a favor owed to them. Denying such a claim was practically impossible. Since each family wasn't lacking in funds, treating the owed sum like a deposit in the bank seemed reasonable. Old Lady Fan, displeased by their opposition, sneered and remarked, "Repaying what you owe is the right thing to do. How can you turn it into a problem? Is having a temper an excuse not to settle debts? What a joke. If you want, the Fan family will reclaim the money, that's for certain." Old Master Mei remained silent. Old Master Hu smiled without offering further comments. Even more displeased, Old Lady Fan took action the next day. She instructed her 2 sons to visit the office and demand the return of the owed 80,000 taels of silver from Lord Xiao. The 2 old masters of the Fan family were baffled, unable to comprehend their mother's sudden insistence on this matter. Despite attempting to dissuade her, Old Lady Fan remained obstinate. Helpless, the 2 elders sought an alternative solution and requested their daughter-in-law to approach Madame Xiao first. After some consideration, Old Lady Fan eventually agreed, stating, "Fine, I'll save some face for Lord Xiao. If he has any sense, he'll return the money. Otherwise, don't blame me for tarnishing the reputation of the prefect's office." Indeed, it was embarrassing for the dignified prefect's office to be unable to repay a debt. Such a situation would undermine Xiao Yunduan's authority. After all, he represented the prefect's office. Chapter 1705. Why are you here? Was Fan Ruyan willing to miss out on such a lively event? Of course not. She wanted to go too. Although First Madame Fan was hesitant to bring along her seemingly trouble-stirring sister-in-law, she lacked the authority to refuse. Thus, the following morning, they made their way to the backyard of the state government office to visit Madame Xiao. Xiao Xian had just finished discussing matters with Songshi, Lu Fu, and others when she learned of First Madame Fan and Aunt's visit. Smiling, she greeted them, "Keep an eye on the schedule and try to expedite matters. Time waits for no one." The 2 women agreed and departed. Li Qiu commented, "They didn't come when you were resting. I don't know why they're here now." The sentiment was unanimous. Xiao Xian smiled. "They're not here to visit me. Since they've come, let them in." First Madame Fan exhibited proper manners as she greeted Xiao Xian politely, took a seat, and engaged in conversation. She inquired about the baby in Xiao Xian's belly, offering advice on pregnancy and discussing how to care for the child. Xiao Xian, genuinely interested, joined the conversation with enthusiasm. For a pregnant woman eagerly anticipating her child, there was no more enticing topic. It was impossible to resist such kindness. Fan Ruyan's expression soured. Gradually, her complexion paled as she glared at First Madame Fan. She had suspected it. Her 2 sister-in-laws weren't as benevolent as they appeared. While they behaved respectably in front of their mother, behind her back, they harbored disdain for her and her family. Yet, she was also a member of the Fan family, just like her brothers. They shared the same mother. Why couldn't she find a husband? Why couldn't she claim a share of the Fan family's assets? His mother and brothers remained silent. What right did his 2 sister-in-laws have to be dissatisfied? They were outsiders. Whenever he was present, his mother would insist that they take care of him. However, when he wasn't in front of her, how willing were they to cater to his needs? It was preposterous. Xiao Xian had already noticed Fan Ruyan's discontented expression but chose to feign ignorance. Dealing with the wife of the prefect required careful consideration in conversation, after all. What a jest! Did this girl from the Fan family believe everyone had to flatter her? Upon reflection, it seemed that was indeed the case. The Fan family, one of the 3 major families in An's province, wielded significant influence in the region. With the government struggling to control the area, they heavily relied on these 3 families for management. Given such circumstances, the Fan family had the power to demand praise and face from others. Over time, Fan Rian might have developed such a personality naturally. Yet, Qiao Xian refused to cater to it. While others might endure Fan Rian's arrogant temper, willingly or not, Qiao Xian saw no need to seek assistance from the Fan family. As for fear, it held even less sway over her. If the Fan family persisted in their arrogance, it was only a matter of time before her husband took a stand against them. In essence, they were already in the first round. Observing her sister-in-law's darkening expression, First Madame Fan inwardly sighed. She couldn't keep pretending she hadn't noticed. If she had continued to turn a blind eye, she would be spared this current predicament. However, when she returned, Fan Rian would undoubtedly complain to their mother-in-law. Chapter 1706. Dead at that moment, she was uncertain about the severity of her mother-in-law's potential punishment. Even though she was over 40 years old and already a grandmother, it mattered little. Her mother-in-law was known for being unreasonable. If she wanted to reprimand her, dignity would be the last thing she granted. It wasn't surprising that the two of them had always been close. First, Madame Fan welcomed Fan Rian with a smile, though Fan Rian failed to appreciate it. Instead, she felt further aggrieved. "Where were you earlier? You deliberately ignored her. Now, you're probably afraid of being scolded when you go back. Only then did you think of her, a living person beside you." Fan Rian didn't follow First Madame Fan's lead. Instead, she addressed Qiao Xian with a forced smile. "I heard you've purchased numerous mountains and are hiring people to explore them. What are your plans for cultivation? Do you intend to settle in Anne's permanently?" Qiao Xian smiled. The crops planted in the land were no secret to anyone. However, she disliked Fan Rian's tone and had no intention of sharing details. "Well, cultivate whatever thrives well in Anne's province, yielding a good return. Well, plant casually, indifferently. As for settling here permanently, that depends on the imperial court. Nevertheless, my husband will stay for at least 2 or 3 terms." She glanced at First Madame Fan and added with a smile, "I may require your assistance in various matters in the future." First Madame Fan bowed, smiling. Fan Rian sneered inwardly. "You still want the Fan clan's help? Seeking advantage from the Fan clan? Dream on. Madame Xiao, considering the substantial land purchase, you and your husband must have spent a considerable amount of money. The Anne's Province Government Office still owes our family 80,000 taels of silver. With our family engaged in significant business now, we're unable to turn the money around. Since Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao aren't lacking in funds, could you assist the government office in settling this debt with our family first?" Fan Rian spoke up, feeling that she had expressed herself quite tactfully. First Madame Fan, embarrassed, wished she could vanish. The prefect, Lord Xiao, was seeking money from the prefect's wife, and as long as he remained in office, the Fan family wouldn't be able to extract anything from him. She disapproved of this matter as much as her husband did. If she were the one handling it, she wouldn't even bring it up. She'd simply have a few words with old Madame Fan. Fan Rian had accompanied her, intending to drop a subtle hint or two. Little did she know that this girl wanted to stir up trouble. First Madame Fan felt powerless and turned to Qiao Xian with an apologetic look, forcing a smile. "Madame Xiao, I'm truly sorry. The Jie family is facing difficulties right now, and we wouldn't have resorted to this if we had other options. Please forgive us." Fan Rian glanced at her sister-in-law disdainfully. So what if she phrased it nicely? Regardless of how polite the request sounded, they were there to collect debts. Expecting Madame Xiao to treat them cordially without harboring any resentment was wishful thinking. Qiao Xian was taken aback. She hadn't anticipated that the two sisters-in-law had a specific purpose for their visit. However, she never imagined it was to collect debts. From her husband, she had heard about the disorderly state of the official accounts, with substantial debts owed to local prominent families. Hence, owing money to the Fan family wasn't surprising. Chapter 1707. Giving it to her, the sum of 80,000 taels of silver was undeniably substantial. Had it not been for Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian, no one else could have procured such a significant amount for the prefect. It raised a dilemma. How could this prefect maintain any dignity and confidence in front of these affluent families? It was no wonder each prefect's tenure was short-lived. Beyond the threats posed by bandits and outlaws, the influence of these powerful families might also play a role. If these prominent families were covertly connected to the bandits and outlaws, each prefect would likely seethe with frustration yet dare not voice their grievances. What a vexing situation! Xiao Xian remained silent, and Fan Ruyan reveled in her satisfaction. Being the prefect's wife didn't alter the fact that money could overwhelm even a hero. Without funds, how could one hope to control the Fan family? Lord Prefect was too naive. Did they genuinely believe the Fan clan was an easy target? Fan Ruyan continued, Madam Xiao, we are facing our own challenges. Please understand, Madam Xiao and Lord Xiao. Xiao Xian smiled. You need not be overly polite, Madam Bai. However, 80,000 taels of silver is a substantial sum. I will need to consult with my husband. How about this, Mrs. Bai, return tomorrow and don't forget to bring the IOU. Both First Madam Fan and Fan Ruyan were taken aback. What did this mean? Was Madam Xiao truly planning to repay the money? Indeed, 80,000 taels of silver was a considerable amount. How could they produce it immediately? Nevertheless, having made the statement, there was no room for retraction. Fan Ruyan promptly agreed, wearing a smile. Xiao Xian nodded and smiled. It's a deal. First Madam Fan felt even more ashamed and uneasy. Feeling embarrassed to stay any longer, she quickly stood up with a smile and bid farewell. Xiao Xian didn't prolong the encounter and arranged for someone to escort them out. Upon Xiao Yunduan's return, Xiao Xian shared the encounter with a smile. Husband, it appears the three families have no intention of cooperating with you. Xiao Yunduan had been planning to revoke their privileges when the Fan family voiced their objection, and the other two families followed suit. Although Xiao Yunduan anticipated this development, he didn't expect it to unfold so swiftly. It seems we can't rely on them for the seeds. The Fan family has made their stance clear, and the others are likely to follow suit. I've implicated you again. Xiao Xian smiled. It's not a big deal. I have the IOU, and am not accepting the money for free. With the taxes due this year, they'll be repaid. Xiao Yunduan smiled and embraced her. Of course. Even so, without Xiao Xian, he wouldn't have managed it. If all the prominent families joined forces, the cost would exceed 600,000 taels of silver. Where could an ordinary prefect lord procure such a sum? After discussing for a while, Xiao Yunduan voiced his concern. The money is one thing, but I'm worried they might take other actions. My wife, don't go out so easily, and keep an eye on Songshi and the others. Xiao Yunduan wasn't overly concerned about Songshi and the land reclamation. The three big families were more likely to target him or his wife rather than the servants. What use was there in targeting servants? They wouldn't expect him to retaliate over a few servants. They wouldn't dare to touch the wasteland since they had their own fields. Their audacity to meddle here stemmed from the belief that consequences wouldn't follow. If they did provoke a reaction, they would be at a disadvantage. After all, their fields were superior and more numerous. Chapter 1708. Feeling slapped in the face, what they desired now was for Xiao Yunduan to concede defeat and lower his head. If the three big families continued to act unchecked in An's province, they would solely target him and his wife. Hearing his concerns, Xiao Xian grew a bit anxious. She repeatedly reminded him to be cautious when going out. Xiao Yunduan, caught between laughter and tears, reassured her, fearing she wouldn't be able to tend to the baby in peace. Xiao Yunduan instructed Jia Heming to approach the three prominent families again and issue an ultimatum. They wouldn't be selling the seeds, so they needed to finalize the deal today without further delay. If the families truly couldn't provide assistance or resources, he would have to explore alternative solutions. Despite Jia Heming's expectation that the trip might be futile, he complied. The outcome aligned with his predictions. The three families weren't reserved. They genuinely had nothing to offer. Xiao Yunduan nodded and dismissed Jia Heming. Jia Heming seemed hesitant to speak but chose to hold his tongue. Though concerned, he left with a somber expression. He sensed that Lord Xiao was genuinely determined to take action but deemed him too hasty. While he understood the impossibility of extracting anything from the formidable three big families, being too anxious posed its own challenges. If the three families refused to assist, the other clans were unlikely to help either. With no funds in the official account, Xiao Yunduan faced a dilemma. Unbeknownst to Jia Heming, Xiao Yunduan had instructed Zheng Sang to lead a group to Yuezheng province. There, he requested Yuezheng Xiao to secretly deliver the seeds. Zheng Sang brought individuals to provide discreet protection, just in case. Given the three big families' audacity to confront bandits, their methods differed from those of other family clans. Xiao Yunduan had to exercise caution. As expected, first Madame Fan faced a scolding from her mother-in-law in the Fan family. She had grown numb to it and merely listened. Old Lady Fan had anticipated that Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian might soften their stance when asked to settle the debt. To her displeasure, they not only held their ground but also presented the IOU the next day. Feeling even more dissatisfied with the outcome, Old Lady Fan instructed, "Since Madame Xiao has spoken, both you and your sister-in-law will go again tomorrow. Take the butler and the IOU with you. I want to see if Madame Xiao is bluffing. If she doesn't give you the money tomorrow, don't return empty-handed. Make sure she promises something, understand?" First Madame Fan nodded. The following morning, the two of them, accompanied by the Guan family and the IOU, paid another visit. Upon seeing them, Xiao Xian greeted, "Welcome." Without a word, she had someone verify the authenticity of the IOU and gladly handed over the banknotes. There were a total of 8 cards, each worth 10,000 taels. As she held the banknotes, Fan Ruyan remained in a daze. Is this it? They received the banknotes just like that? Madame Xiao didn't even plead with the Fan family? Regardless of Fan Ruyan's thoughts, she could only return with the banknotes. Despite successfully securing the repayment, Fan Ruyan found herself surprisingly dissatisfied. Old Lady Fan shared the sentiment, feeling as though she had been slapped in the face. She believed that other families might be ridiculing her behind her back, especially the old man from the Hua family. Old Lady Fan promptly dispatched someone to seek out the other 3 smaller family clans holding the promissory note. Their mission was to collect the debt at the designated location from the government office. Chapter 1709. Stifled. If the Hua family and the Mei family refused, Old Lady Fan wouldn't summon them. However, the other families were holding nearly 200,000 taels in IOUs. Since Madame Xiao had seemingly slapped her own face, Old Lady Fan felt compelled to retaliate. They doubted they would actually receive payment this time. 2 families secretly rejected Xiao Yunduan's request but didn't dare to refuse openly. Every family knew Old Lady Fan's temperament. If they dared to decline, they risked earning her enmity, making their future interactions challenging. They might as well collectively voice their grievances to the government to reclaim the money. Xiao Xian, unwilling to ask Xiao Yunduan for the promissory note, left the other party bewildered. Xiao Xian chuckled, saying, "Since you're here to collect the debt, why didn't you bring the IOU? Perhaps you forgot that I'm expecting you, so let me go back and fetch it now." Her words left them feeling awkward. Uncertain whether Xiao Xian intended to genuinely repay the money or not, they found themselves cornered and unable to back down. They hurriedly went home to retrieve the IOU. The total amount was 230,000 taels of silver, and Xiao Xian counted out 10,000 taels each. There were 23 banknotes, neatly arranged. The few debt collectors were stunned. Holding the banknotes, they felt no joy. Instead, an unexplainable guilt crept in. It was a rare sight to see debt collectors in such a mood. As they departed the state office, their footsteps seemed a bit lighter. Old Lady Fan was furious. Old Lady Fan felt as if she had been slapped in the face once again. How is that possible? How can the Xiao family have so much money? The total amount, including their family's funds, was 310,000 taels of Silvera ready-made banknotes, not assets. Even for the Fan family, it wasn't easy to produce such a sum at once. Unable to accept defeat, Old Lady Fan compelled her 2 sons to approach the Mei family and the Hua family, hoping to exert pressure on Xiao Yunduan. The 3 families had long stood together, facing challenges and victories collectively. Xiao Yunduan's actions had not only embarrassed the Fan family but also deliberately suppressed them. The other two families couldn't afford to stay aloof. By defending the Fan family's honor, they would prevent Xiao Yunduan from sowing discord among them. If the three families turned against each other, Xiao Yunduan could pick them off one by one. From their perspective, the new prefect lord seemed oblivious to their long-standing alliances. Instead, he immediately clashed with the three families upon his arrival, refusing to compromise on the seed issue. Now, with the debt repayment at hand, they were left feeling somewhat resentful. Xiao Yunduan had anticipated that the Fan family would try to influence the other two families. He had already made arrangements for the required funds, but the sheer amount raised questions. Did he truly have such resources? If the three big families refused to provide seeds, Xiao Yunduan would have to purchase them himself. With 17 towns and numerous villages in An's province, the number of seeds required was substantial. Procuring them would incur significant costs. Chapter 17:10. Banquet. The Hua family and the Mei family found themselves in a dilemma. Did Lord Xiao truly possess such vast financial resources? If he did, why would he take on a position in An's province? They pondered whether he could have used his wealth to attain power more directly. According to the information they had gathered earlier, Xiao Yunduan hailed from a modest farming family with an ordinary background. In their perplexity, the Hua and Mei families reluctantly decided to collect the debt from the state office. If Xiao Yunduan could repay them, it was acceptable; otherwise, they feared he would utilize the funds to source seeds from alternative means, causing them to regret their inaction. Approaching Xiao Yunduan directly, they received the banknotes after Qin Yan retrieved them from Qiao Xian. Xiao Yunduan promptly transferred all the IOUs to Qiao Xian. As a result, Qiao Xian now held the IOUs totaling 620,000 taels of silver. While the silver in Qiao Xian's possession diminished to less than 500,000 taels, it was still an impressive sum compared to others. Utilizing 200,000 taels to procure rice seeds was more than sufficient. The attempt by the three families to use money as leverage against Xiao Yunduan proved futile. Qiao Xian, with a smile, informed her husband about the situation and expressed her intention to host a banquet, inviting all the ladies to witness the unfolding spectacle. After all, Mrs. Guan had recently organized a reception banquet for her, and it seemed fitting to reciprocate. The banquet served as a clear counterattack against the three prominent families, revealing that Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao were untroubled by financial concerns. Xiao Yunduan, however, couldn't help but express his concern for Qiao Xian's well-being, glancing at her belly with a touch of worry. Reassuring him, Qiao Xian smiled and assured, "I am fine. The weather is perfect, so we can enjoy some leisurely conversation, admire the flowers, and have a good time. I'll ask Li Xia and the others to stay close this time." Xiao Yunduan agreed but suggested involving Mrs. Guan to manage the guests, while Li Xia and Li Qiu would stay by Qiao Xian's side for added protection. He emphasized the need for Qiao Xian's safety in light of the potential schemes and risks posed by those unhappy with the seed and promissory note situation. Acknowledging his concerns, Qiao Xian agreed to make a brief appearance at the banquet before retiring to rest, with Li Xia, Li Qiu, and others remaining to take care of her. Mrs. Guan, though not entirely willing, had little choice but to accept the responsibility. The swift and uncompromising return of the 620,000 taels of silver amazed Mrs. Guan and her husband. Qiao Xian's calm and unquestionable handling of such a large sum left them astonished and made them think twice about crossing her. The banquet was scheduled for 2 days later, leaving the recipients of the invitations in disbelief. The upcoming event promised to be a spectacle, especially considering old lady Fan's inevitable reaction to the situation. Chapter 17:11. Furious, she was the one who started the debt. She wanted to suppress Lord Xiao and force him to give in. Unexpectedly, Lord Xiao returned the 620,000 taels of silver without any hesitation. This round, old lady Fan lost. Others lost too, but she was the leader. Madame Xiao found it interesting as well. She set up a banquet and invited everyone to enjoy the flowers and watch the show. This was clearly continuing to challenge the Fan clan and the three great clans. So what if he had returned 620,000 taels of silver? He was still in a good mood to admire the flowers and listen to the show. After the Fan family received the invitation, Old Lady Fan was so angry that she almost couldn't breathe. She scolded, "You're going too far. Wasn't this going too far?" Everyone was smart enough to know what Xiao Xian was trying to do by inviting guests at this time. It seems that Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao have made up their minds to go against us. Good. I've seen how ignorant they are today. As smug as they are, money isn't enough in An's province. Old Lady Fan was in a fit of pique. She had planned to not let the Fan family attend this banquet, but she also wanted to give it to the families who were close to her. She also wanted to tell the Mei family and the Hua family. First Old Master Fan and second Old Master Fan had a headache. This won't do. This was equivalent to going against Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao. By then, Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao wouldn't let the Fan family off easily, even if it was for the sake of their reputation. Although the Fan family was one of the 3 big families in An's province, it would cause a lot of trouble if Lord Xiao targeted them. At that time, the Hua family and the Mei family would be left far behind. There might even be other families trying to replace them. But if he explained it to Old Lady Fan like this, it would definitely not make sense. She would not listen, because she was very confident in her family. First Old Master Fan and his brother had no choice but to tell her that they had to attend the banquet. If they didn't, others would think that the Fan family was afraid of Lord Xiao. Old Lady Fan felt that it was true. Why not? She had to go. And she had to go in a glamorous manner. The banquet was held as scheduled. This time, the banquet was even more lively and crowded than the reception banquet. Xiao Xian was showing off, of course, the more the merrier. Furthermore, she had indeed invited more people to see if there was anyone she could befriend and support. How could it be said that all the local family clans, big and small, were convinced of the 3 big families and did not have any other thoughts? Xiao Xian was of a higher status than everyone else, so she did not need to greet them personally. Instead, the ladies who came to visit her had to greet her one by one. It saved her a lot of trouble in the province. Seeing this, Mrs. Guan felt very frustrated. If Lord Xiao managed to solve the problem of the seed, more than half of the scribes in office would side with him. It would be meaningless for his old master to pretend to be sick. But now that things had come to this, her old master was caught between a rock and a hard place. She could only hope that Lord Xiao wouldn't be able to solve this problem. When his old master took action to solve the problem, his old master would have the final say in the government officiero. Compared to the reception banquet last time, the ladies were much more polite to Xiao Xian this time. Chapter 17:12. The more at this time, the more the Fan family cares about this. After all, not many people could take out 620,000 taels of silver without blinking. Who knew what other trump cards Lord Xiao had? Lord Xiao didn't even hesitate to slap the Fan family's face. Even though these family clans were considered top-notch locally, they were nothing compared to the Fan family. In Lord Xiao's eyes, it was nothing. In addition, the Fan family had always been domineering. If it wasn't for the Fan family's strength, no one would be willing to tolerate Old Lady Fan's temper. Seeing her and the Fan family suffer, countless people were secretly happy and gloating. They couldn't wait for Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao to teach the Fan family a lesson. When they saw Xiao Xian, they were very polite. On the Fan family's side, the people who came were still the sisters-in-law and young ladies from the younger generation who had attended the banquet last time. They were still the last to appear as the finale. At such a time, the Fan family was more concerned about this. Old Lady Fan insisted that the Fan family needed to make a more glamorous appearance this time. As a result, the 3 madams and 3 young ladies of the Fan family arrived at the banquet dressed in exquisite finery. Their vibrant choice of bright satin garments, adorned with intricate gold and silver embroidery, drew attention. The colors ranged from vivid purple to striking orange red, while the 3 young ladies opted for shades of pink, rose red, and begoniard. Every detail, including cuffs, skirts, collars, and lapels, sparkled with embedded gold and silver threads. The accessories they wore were no less opulent, featuring gems and pearls set in pure gold and emerald. The overall effect was dazzling, making the Fan family's women the center of attention as they entered the venue. The sudden quiet in the air suggested a mixture of awe and surprise at the ostentatious display. However, The atmosphere also hinted at an undercurrent of tension and uncertainty, leaving the banquet hall in a momentary hush. First, Madame Fan was so embarrassed that she wanted to disappear. She knew that she was being silly, and she did not want to do that. But what could he do? Madame Lady Qiao was so stubborn that she could not even convince her two sons, let alone her daughter-in-law. Plus, there was a Fan Ruyin who had learned everything from old Lady Fan, so it was not hard to imagine Second Mrs. Fan didn't like this either, but she was magnanimous and didn't care. The women of the Fan family came forward to greet them, and Xiao Xian said with a smile, "First Madame Fan, second Mrs. Fan, Madame Bai and the three ladies are dressed so well today." Someone covered his mouth and held back his laughter. Fan Ruyin subconsciously straightened her back and smiled smugly. "Since we're attending a banquet, we naturally have to dress up well. Isn't this a perfect match?" She thought to herself, "You're naturally looking forward to seeing the women of the Fan family covered in dust today. Then you're wrong. The Fan family won't be defeated so easily. Don't think that just because you can take out 600,000 taels of silver, you have the capital to be arrogant in front of the Fan family." It was still far away. Xiao Xian responded with a smile, "Well said, Madame Bai." Fan Ruyin giggled in response, "Aya, Madame Xiao, you flatter me." First Madame Fan wished she could disappear once again. As the guests continued chatting, Xiao Xian eventually apologized and delegated the task of entertaining them to Mrs. Guan. She instructed her maids to provide a delightful meal for the guests. Citing not feeling well, she excused herself to retire. Being both pregnant and the prefect's wife, her claim of not feeling well left little room for objections. Polite expressions of concern followed her departure, and they escorted her to the door. Upon arriving in the garden, Xiao Xian noticed Qing Yan anxiously searching the surroundings. Spotting her, he visibly relaxed and quickly approached with a smile. Returning the smile, Xiao Xian spoke, "All right, I am going back now. Go and tell your lord not to worry." Chapter 17:13. Want to inquire? Kaiyue and Kaihua burst into laughter. Qing Yan, feeling embarrassed, scratched his head and hastily declared, "Old master is still waiting for my response. I'll inform him right away." With those words, he hurriedly made his way out. The laughter of Kaiyue and the others intensified. Once Xiao Xian departed, the atmosphere in the garden gained liveliness. Initially, they attempted to keep their discussion discreet, skirting around the issue. However, as Fan Ruyin initiated the conversation, they collectively decided to abandon secrecy. They bombarded Mrs. Guan with inquiries, hoping to extract information from her. Residing in the state government office's backyard with Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao, she occasionally encountered Madame Xiao, making her the most knowledgeable among them. The staggering expenditure of 620,000 taels of silver by Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan astonished everyone. The wealth they possessed piqued the interest of many. Yet, the matter of the seed wasn't solely solvable with money. Rumors circulated that an agreement had been reached between Lord Xiao and the three prominent families. What was Lord Xiao's strategy? Time pressed on, and the curiosity about Lord Xiao's actions grew. Had he already set his plan in motion? This concern weighed heavily on their minds. If the three big families faltered and lost their privileges, it would be even more detrimental for second- and third-class families like theirs. Mrs. Guan inwardly sighed. How could she possibly know? Her old master, citing his recovery as an excuse, declined to assist Lord Xiao. Similarly, she claimed to be attending to her old master and restricted her outings. She hadn't visited Xiao Xian or engaged in any conversations with her. She had no intention of attending. Xiao Xian's frustration with her arose from her old master's refusal to aid Lord Xiao. Despite being the wife of the prefect while the other was merely the wife of the deputy prefect, Mrs. Guan found herself overshadowed. Could she openly confront and engage in a feud, especially considering her current pregnancy? Her knowledge about the Xiao family was limited to what others knew, and she felt too embarrassed to admit it. Revealing her lack of information would only emphasize her perceived incompetence. In an attempt to divert the conversation, Mrs. Guan stuttered and tried changing the subject. Fortunately, attention soon shifted to Li Xia and Li Qiu. Though they were only two young girls, Being Madame Xiao's maids meant they were privy to more information than Mrs. Guan. However, due to their loyalty to Madame Xiao and the Xiao family, they had to be cautious and not divulge too much. Surrounded by maids and housekeepers, they were bombarded with compliments and enthusiastic greetings. Despite Xiao Xian's precautions, the overwhelming enthusiasm caught them off guard, leaving their minds in turmoil. Fortunately, the crowd, aware of their master's high status as the wife of the prefect, refrained from asking intrusive questions or adopting an aggressive demeanor. Li Xia and Li Qiu, in turn, held their ground, refusing to reveal more than necessary. Nonetheless, there were certain aspects they could emphasize, such as boasting about their old master's wealth and Madame's extensive collection of exquisite, beautiful, and exceptionally precious jewelry. Chapter 1714. Mocking, they highlighted that their old master genuinely aspired to serve as an official in this region and be a benevolent leader. Therefore, leaving abruptly was out of the question. Additionally, they wanted to convey that both their old master and Madame were of high status, noble character, and displayed kindness and gentleness towards everyone. Being a servant in the Xiao family was considered a blessing that anyone would be fortunate to have. The maidservants, however, were disheartened. Who would be interested in hearing such details? As dinner approached, Li Xia and Li Qiu informed Mrs. Guan and extended invitations to the ladies to join them at the table. Eager to witness the unfolding events, Mrs. Guan agreed with a smile and led the group to the banquet hall. Throughout the half-day of being surrounded by inquisitive individuals, Mrs. Guan had to muster considerable energy and endurance, leaving her thoroughly exhausted. As everyone settled down, Mrs. Guan exchanged greetings with each guest. Li Xia and Li Qiu promptly instructed the serving of dishes. Unaware of the chef's identity, Mrs. Guan remained in the dark until the dishes were presented. A collective look of puzzlement crossed the faces of the guests. The meal before them couldn't be described as lavish or high-class. Among the offerings was a dish featuring cabbage boiled in a crystal-clear soup, tofu prepared in a simple manner, and a sealed urn over half a foot tall, the contents concealed. Its size was comparable to a large bowl, leaving everyone curious. Other dishes appeared more conventional but exhibited an exquisite and tempting quality. The braised meat displayed a vibrant red hue, while prawns, a familiar item, were coated in an unknown red sauce. The aroma, slightly sour and sweet, immediately tantalized the taste buds, eliciting anticipatory reactions from the diners. The table also featured a plate of neatly arranged chicken, its skin yellow and shiny, exuding a fresh and tender quality. Having escaped without encountering any trouble from Xiao Xian, Fan Ruyan couldn't resist poking fun at the dishes when she saw them. Madame Xiao and Lord Xiao must have used up their funds to cover the state office's deficit. The banquet dishes today are quite simple and straightforward. Fan Ruyan's jesting elicited laughter from many madams and young ladies who shared a good relationship with the Fan family. It was an unspoken understanding among them. Mrs. Guan eagerly anticipated someone ridiculing Xiao Xian and opted not to defend her. Instead, she chimed in, "Mrs. Bai, please don't say that. Madame Xiao has sincerely invited us as her guests. Such an invitation is a rare gesture, and we should appreciate it." Fan Ruyan sneered with disdain, her eyes filled with mockery. She retorted with a faint smile, "Such good intentions can indeed serve as a shield at any time, allowing you to silence others. Don't you think it's quite effective?" Mrs. Guan chuckled. "Mrs. Bai, you certainly have a sense of humor." At that moment, Li Xia and Li Qiu approached. Li Xia smiled and said, "Mrs. Bai and everyone, you may not be aware, but these dishes were specially ordered by our madam and prepared by the kitchen. Some were even made 2 days ago. They are different from the local dishes, which might be why Madame Bai didn't recognize them. Allow me to explain each dish to the madams and young ladies, and I'm sure they'll appreciate the uniqueness." The two maids began detailing the dishes one by one, covering ingredients, craftsmanship, and the distinct features of each dish. The menu included boiled cabbage, fish soup tofu, braised pork, prawns with soya sauce, Buddha jumps over the wall, and salt-baked chicken. Chapter 1715. Face slapping. As Li Xia and Li Qiu spoke, They wore warm smiles and extended invitations to all the madams and young ladies to savor the dishes while they were still hot. The enticing descriptions heightened the anticipation of the guests, who eagerly picked up their chopsticks, unable to resist the temptation. Curiosity and enthusiasm surged as they couldn't wait to indulge in the flavors. Not bad at all. What's in this prawn sauce? It's a delightful combination of sour and sweet. The chicken is amazing. The skin is tight, and the meat is exceptionally fresh and delicious. I've never encountered such a cooking method. This braised pork is exquisite. It melts in the mouth and isn't greasy at all. And what's this called? Buddha jumps over the wall? The soup is marvelous. I must say, this boiled cabbage is unexpectedly delightful. It appears simple but tastes wonderful. It's no wonder, considering the variety of delicacies. The madams and young ladies, being connoisseurs of fine cuisine, recognized the quality of the dishes. Such a feast would easily cost at least 200 taels of silver, considering the array of snacks, tea, fruits, and the entertainment provided by the troupe. Madame Xiao had generously opened 12 tables for the occasion. With the additional expenses on snacks, tea, fruits, and the entertainment troupe, the banquet's total cost exceeded 3,000 taels of silver euro, a sum indicative of a large-scale event. In usual circumstances, a well-organized banquet could be achieved with 100 or 200 taels. Anything above 500 taels was considered affluent and grand. Madame Xiao's wealth was unmistakable. Fan Ruyan's complexion alternated between shades of green and white. Although no one openly mocked her, the continuous praises for the dishes amounted to a figurative slap on her face, exposing her lack of knowledge. The two girls, in particular, seemed to intentionally direct their comments toward her. The implicit mockery in their gazes left her feeling thoroughly irritated and scorned. The banquet dishes garnered universal praise and satisfaction from all the guests, except for Fan Ruyan, who refrained from tasting the food. Li Xia and Li Qiu reveled in their satisfaction. The carefully prepared dishes served as a subtle rebuke to Fan Ruyan for her unwarranted insults. Madame Xiao's meticulous efforts had resulted in a culinary triumph, proving her culinary knowledge and capabilities. The shrimp with soya sauce, in particular, stood out, offering a delightful blend of sweetness and sourness. Madame Xiao had even brought tomato seedlings from the capital, carefully transplanting and cultivating them in An's province. The resulting harvest enabled the creation of the unique eggplant juice featured in the banquet. For Li Xia and Li Qiu, Fan Ruyan's ignorance and baseless criticisms now seemed all the more absurd. They took pleasure in watching her embarrassment, especially since she had dared to mock Madame and Old Master for their perceived lack of wealth. As the guests finished their meal and engaged in lively conversation, they eventually gathered to enjoy the entertainment. Mrs. Guan, having learned her lesson, took precautions to ensure her son stayed away from the garden to avoid any further incidents. While the ladies indulged in the show, Li Xia and Li Qiu found themselves surrounded by a persistent group still attempting to extract information. Undeterred, the two maids bravely navigated the conversation, relentlessly boasting about the wealth of their old master and madam. The constant bragging left the audience feeling somewhat disheartened. Although the news about the Xiao family's prosperity was surprising, many were more interested in Lord Xiao's stance on the seed and whether the big families would secure benefits from the government in the future. This remained the focal point of their curiosity. Chapter 1716. Rich family. In the intermediate courtyard of the eastern wing, Qiao Xian instructed someone to set up a reclining chair, where she leisurely sat with an air of nonchalance and indifference. While appearing to rest with her eyes closed, she remained attuned to the laughter emanating from the garden. Despite the ambient noise, she adeptly gathered useful information. After listening for a while and feeling a bit fatigued, she smiled and stood up. Taking Caillou's hand, she returned to her room, directing someone to stow away the recliner. The day's banquet proved highly successful. The dishes received universal praise, and the specially served fragrant tea, the renowned Golden Sprout, once again stole the spotlight. This was an authentic, top-tier golden sprout, a beverage not typically offered casually or indifferently. Most of the present madams and young ladies had never experienced the drink before. Even those who had tasted it were few, usually reserving it for esteemed guests or family members on special occasions. Yet, Madame Xiao treated the golden sprout with nonchalance. Observing Li Xia and Li Qiu casually sipping the golden sprout further intensified the guests' dismay. The maid's expression suggested this was an entirely ordinary matter, deepening the sense of discontent among the attendees. This nonchalant attitude towards such a luxurious item earned Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao even greater respect. The willingness to spend so extravagantly indicated there might be more to their wealth than meets the eye. Riches and honor, when amassed to a certain extent, often hinted at hidden connections and influence not readily apparent to others. Without the patronage of the nobility, safeguarding this wealth might prove challenging. Conversely, the same principle applied euro. If one did not possess a certain level of affluence, befriending the nobles could be an elusive endeavor. Initially, many regarded Lord Xiao's decision to venture to An's province for expanding his ambitions as a jest. However, the current perspective left no room for mockery. Lord Xiao demonstrated a distinctiveness unseen in other lords of the prefectural state, a sentiment echoed by Madame Xiao. No one in the prefectural state dared to challenge the dominance of the three prominent families. Li Xia and Li Qiu's audacity in smilingly announcing the dish names one by one, much to the chagrin of the lady from the Fan family, indicated the need for caution in the future. It was imperative not to become cannon fodder pushed out by the three great clans, especially the arrogant and disrespectful Fan clan. Following the conclusion of the banquet, guests bid their farewells. Li Xia and Li Qiu escorted Xiao Xian out, and when someone suggested saying goodbye to Madame Xiao, they swiftly intervened, understanding the delicate situation. The Fan clan, arriving last, departed early, leaving Fan Rian with a pale countenance. Upon returning home, old Lady Fan inquired about the banquet. To her surprise, Fan Rian, with teary eyes, recounted feeling greatly wronged. Old Lady Fan, angered by her daughter's distress, swiftly shifted blame onto her daughters-in-law. Expressing her disappointment, she sternly rebuked their indifference to Fan Rian's plight. The scolding extended particularly harshly to the daughter-in-law over 40 and the one over 30, leaving them unable to raise their heads. Attempting to justify herself, second Mrs. Fan only invited fiercer reprimands from Old Lady Fan, who was in no mood for distinctions between them. Chapter 17:17. Smug observing her two sister-in-laws struggling to maintain composure after their scolding, Fan Rian, with a choked voice, interjected, "Mother, it has nothing to do with the two sister-in-laws. It's all Madame Xiao's fault." In her scheming heart, Fan Rian believed that by defending her sister-in-laws after the scolding, she could garner their gratitude. In her view, they owed her a favor, a perception she had always upheld with a smug sense of accomplishment. Unbeknownst to her, she failed to realize that, if not for her, her sister-in-laws wouldn't have suffered this undeserved calamity. A single sentence from her could have clarified the situation, but she chose not to speak up, allowing them to endure the torrent of curses before intervening. Her sister-in-laws harbored deep-seated resentment towards her. Old Lady Fan, though slightly appeased by Fan Rian's defense, snorted dismissively. "You don't have to plead for them. They are involved. How can it have nothing to do with them? They just stood by as Madame Xiao bullied them. If you advocate for them, they might not appreciate your kindness." The two Mrs. Fan were infuriated, feeling on the verge of vomiting blood. Fortunately, Old Lady Fan ceased her scolding after a few more words and shifted her focus to Xiao Xian, inquiring about the alleged mistreatment. Fan Rian, once again feeling wronged, insisted that she didn't initiate the mockery. Instead, she claimed that the Xiao family's maidservant humiliated her, mocking her ignorance and the incompetence of the Fan family. Old Lady Fan, incensed by the revelation, concluded that Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian were bound to be enemies. Let them revel in their smugness. We still don't know about the seeds yet. I want to see what they can do. As the attention of everyone was fixed on how the state government would address the seed issue, Yuezheng Xiao and his entourage had already arrived in An's province. Xiao Yunduan instructed Jia Heming to find 2 trustworthy scribes and store the seeds in the warehouse. He then drafted an official document, distributing it to the towns to facilitate the planting of spring crops. Jia Heming, stunned by the sudden turn of events, took a moment to collect himself before addressing Xiao Yunduan. Lord, these Xiao Yunduan smiled. The first batch of seeds has arrived, and the second and third batches will follow in a couple of days. Organize the distribution of the seeds as quickly as possible, ensuring no delay in the spring planting. Of course, Lord. Overjoyed, Jia Heming rushed out to oversee the arrangements. Returning to the east yard, Xiao Yunduan found Songshi, who had just picked up Yuezhing Xiao from Zheng Sang's house. Upon learning about Xiao Xian's pregnancy, Yuezhing Xiao expressed his congratulations and joy. The three friends, reunited after a long separation, engaged in lively conversation, relishing the warmth of their reunion. Yuezhing Xiao conveyed greetings from his mother, the first madam, and even brought some gifts for Xiao Xian. The thought of the person who had treated her well and imparted invaluable knowledge for navigating this era warmed Xiao Xian's heart. She smiled and inquired about the well-being of the first madam, whom she missed dearly. As the evening descended, Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian decided to stay for dinner at the east yard of the state office. With Yuezhing Xiao's visit, they planned to enjoy each other's company for a few more days, exploring the delights of An's province together. Chapter 17-18. Dun He was particularly intrigued by the land acquired by Xiao Xian. It piqued his interest enough to warrant a closer inspection. On this occasion, his visit was solely dedicated to delivering a shipment of rice seeds. However, he planned to return in the future to supply Xiao Xian with seeds for herbs and potatoes. Over the years, through cultivation and Xiao Xian's modifications, the potato yield had surpassed the original expectations. Consequently, potatoes gained popularity in Yuzhong. Transporting sufficient seeds for Xiao Xian was no longer a challenge. Yuezhing Xiao's arrival stirred memories of the past for Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, making them yearn for their home in Shaoding village. Previously, the distance from Beijing had made such thoughts futile. However, the proximity of An's province, only 500 miles away from Yuzhong, now offered a glimmer of hope. Although the journey was arduous, it was manageable in just 2 to 3 days more than a standard trip. Despite the relative ease of returning home, Xiao Xian's pregnancy posed a hurdle. Xiao Yunduan adamantly opposed her venturing out. He consoled her, promising that once the child was born and grew, An's province would likely stabilize, allowing them to return together. Following the purchase of rice seeds, Xiao Yunduan recognized the need for careful planning to safely distribute them to the 17 towns. He harbored suspicions that the three prominent families wouldn't remain idle, prompting him to take precautionary measures. While the seeds discreetly entered the city without raising any alarms, their presence would be impossible to conceal once they reached the warehouse. All the families were shocked. Lord Xiao had really done it? Without relying on the three great clans. For a moment, many families sent servants to wander around the warehouse. Unauthorized individuals were strictly prohibited from approaching the government warehouse, a well-guarded area surrounded by a high wall. The empty 50-meter perimeter served as a buffer, dissuading anyone from approaching without cause. Nevertheless, resourceful families found their own ways to navigate restrictions. While forbidden from direct access, they could linger at the edge, engaging in conversations with the bailiffs on duty. Convinced that the seeds originated from Lord Xiao, they anticipated the arrival of subsequent batches in the coming days. That evening, the three great clans convened at the Fan clan for a discussion, and the atmosphere was tense. Old Lady Fan wore the ugliest expression, her dissatisfaction apparent. Old Master Hua, appearing gentle and smiling, concealed inner turmoil. First Old Master Mei, always stern and cold, remained unreadable, but the prevailing mood was undeniably unpleasant. Unable to contain her frustration, Old Lady Fan sneered, "Lord Xiao is quite resourceful. I never expected him to acquire such seeds. But merely placing them in the warehouse is not enough. He claims there will be second and third batches. Do any of you believe him? I don't trust him. Could this be a scam?" She added. Old Master Hua sighed. "Well, it's hard to say. Lord Xiao is not someone to be underestimated." Old Lady Fan dismissed him with a snort. "Old Man Hua, This is about bolstering others' morale while diminishing your own prestige. The solution is simple. Destroy this batch of seeds, and everything will be fine. Old Master Hua and Old Master Mei exchanged frowns, contemplating whether Old Lady Fan had lost her senses. Chapter 1719. No need to worry. The seeds safely resided within the confines of the government warehouse, prompting the question of how to dispose of them. Was burning down the warehouse a viable option? The practical challenges loomed large: bailiffs on duty, a towering wall, and the assumption that such a drastic move could be executed without repercussions. The landscape had changed. The bailiffs were now under Lord Xiao's influence. Disobeying him was unthinkable, and the prospect of burning the seeds raised moral concerns. The potential consequences of such an act, including retribution, made it a perilous choice. Moreover, initiating a direct conflict with the government would be a fight to the death. Compounding the dilemma was the increasing uncertainty surrounding Lord Xiao's background. Without adequate knowledge, rash actions seemed perilous. The three families struggled to find common ground. Old Master Hua and Old Master Mei disagreed with Old Lady Fan's proposal, opting for a more measured approach. They viewed Lord Xiao as a potential ally rather than an adversary. Assuming he desired stability in An's province's business realm, a mutually respectful conversation seemed plausible. The ability to resolve the seed predicament indicated Lord Xiao's competence and willingness to engage as equals. With this perspective, both the Hua and Mei families chose restraint and patience. Stepping back from the precipice, they embraced a more comprehensive understanding of each other. Recognizing Lord Xiao's pursuit of financial gains, they decided to cooperate, provided he maintained reasonable boundaries. The consensus emerged: as long as Lord Xiao remained within acceptable limits, they would not obstruct his endeavors. The path forward involved a more amicable and pragmatic approach, acknowledging the potential for collaboration rather than confrontation. The Hua family and the Mei family were already in discussions about the gifts they would prepare. In a few days, they planned to send their women to the backyard of the state government office to visit the pregnant Madame Xiao. As the Hua and Mei families opted for a more conciliatory approach, Old Lady Fan found herself with no choice but to adopt a wait-and-see attitude. While she might have considered taking action in the past, the current situation acknowledged the newfound stature of the prefect state's new lord, whom she could no longer dismiss with arrogance. By the second and third day, all the seeds had been meticulously arranged within the government warehouse. The lively atmosphere within the warehouse persisted for the past 2 days, with seeds transported, weighed, registered, and stored. Official documents were prepared for distribution, and the state government organized the dispatch of personnel to towns. The land officers were informed, villages were notified, and the seed distribution process commenced. Each year, a designated scribe assumed responsibility for a town, ensuring that any issues would be promptly addressed. While commoners might be complacent elsewhere, matters related to spring plowing and sustenance were taken seriously by all. Xiao Yunduan had assembled all the scribes, issuing a warning and providing a document for posting in every town. The document explicitly conveyed that any tampering with the spring plantation by the scribes or town chiefs would be reported to the state office. Immediate interrogation and severe consequences awaited those found guilty of such transgressions. The scribes, understanding the gravity of the situation, readily complied with Xiao Yunduan's directives, ensuring a cooperative and compliant stance. Chapter 1720. It must be a great harvest year. Who wouldn't realize that? Lord Xiao was on the verge of setting an example. Those foolish enough to cross his path were asking for trouble. Whatever Lord Xiao had in mind, it was prudent to keep it private, unless one desired a confrontation with him. With all the seeds safely stored in the warehouse, Qiao Xian decided it was time to inspect. Applying some wood power could enhance the seed's growth and yield more ears. Since she couldn't visit every field, the current moment, with all the seeds in one place, presented the most convenient opportunity. This marked her husband's inaugural year in office, a time crucial not only for avoiding disruptions to spring plowing but also for ensuring a bountiful harvest in the commoners' 500 meters of paddy fields. Qiao Xian recognized that her superpower could boost output by at least 30%. In optimal conditions, with fertile land and proper care, the increase could reach half or even more. What pleased Xiao Xian the most was the decision of the 3 prominent families and other reputable clans to bypass government seeds. They had exclusive channels, rumored to provide superior seeds compared to the government's offerings at a low price. Such common goods held no allure for them. Particularly for the Fan family, boasting over 100,000 acres of fertile land, seed selection was paramount. Each year, meticulous consideration went into choosing seeds. The government's common goods were of little interest, even if given for free. Xiao Xian discreetly hinted at going to the warehouse without explicitly stating it, mindful of the rules. She persistently nagged Xiao Yunduan, expressing boredom at home and a desire for a leisurely walk. Xiao Yunduan did not trust her to go alone. But on second thought, they had been in An's province for quite some time, but he had not gone out with his wife yet. He felt a bit guilty, so he coaxed her to wait for a few more days. When he was done with his work, he would go out with her for a walk. Xiao Xian said with a smile, "Aren't you going to see the seeds at the warehouse? I am going too, okay? I have never seen them before, and I think that they are fresh. I will go with you so that you will not be distracted, and I can relax too." Xiao Yunduan was caught between laughter and tears. "There is nothing to see in the office. Why would my wife think of this? Be good, in 2 days, 3 or 4 days at most, I will keep you companionero." All the seeds had already been stored in the warehouse. As the lord of the prefect, he naturally had to go over and take a look with his own eyes. This was also a sign that the local officials valued farming. "But I am just curious, I just want to take a look." Xiao Xian was here for this, so she was not going to be obedient. Xiao Yunduan could not persuade her, so he agreed. Xiao Xian accompanied Xiao Yunduan to the official warehouse in a wagon, quenching her curiosity by applying her superpower to all the seeds. An's province, expansive and sparsely populated, boasted numerous paddy fields. During her pregnancy, half of Xiao Xian's superpowers were automatically dedicated to protecting the baby, leaving her control over only half. After exerting her influence on all the seeds, she felt a wave of fatigue, and her complexion turned pale. Xiao Yunduan, vigilant to her condition, was alarmed. He immediately decided not to let her linger any longer and swiftly instructed the servants to drive the carriage. Yi, Li Xia, and Li Qiu were tasked with ensuring her safe return. Chapter 1721. So unlucky. If you're not feeling well, get someone to call a doctor early. He'll be back soon, Xiao Yunduan advised. Xiao Xian offered a gentle smile. "Don't worry, husband. I just don't have much appetite this morning, so I'm a bit hungry now, that's all. There's tea and snacks in the wagon, so it'll be fine after some food." While Xiao Yunduan didn't completely believe her, seeing her improve slightly eased his concern. He expressed a few words of care and saw her off to the wagon. The road conditions in An's province were challenging, especially outside the main roads. Carelessness could lead to traps, and the carriage had to navigate slowly. Coincidentally, it was market day, and as they passed through the bustling market center, Xiao Xian decided to stop at a 3-story tea house. The lively street was filled with peddlers, stalls, and commoners selling their wares. As the carriage was temporarily stuck due to the congestion, Xiao Xian, accompanied by Yi, Li Xia, Li Qiu, and Kaiyue, decided to take a break at the tea house. Planning to leave when the road cleared, they ascended to the 2nd floor. To their surprise, they encountered Fan Rian and her daughter, as well as a mother and daughter from the Liao family, just as they were about to leave. Mrs. Liao greeted Xiao Xian with a smile. "Madam Xiao." Fan Rian offered a polite smile, but it held a touch of insincerity. "Madam Xiao, what a coincidence." Xiao Xian nodded and smiled. What a coincidence. Originally having little connection and even harboring secret conflicts, encountering each other by chance could have been an opportunity for a simple greeting. However, Fan Rian seemed reluctant to leave it at that. Especially with a third party present, Fan Rian always felt compelled to act, fearing Xiao Xian's judgment if she didn't. As the lady of the Fan family, she couldn't possibly be afraid of the prefect's wife. Throughout the tenure of numerous prefects' wives, the Fan family had consistently aligned with them. The more her family faced losses and humiliation, the more Fan Rian felt the need to maintain her momentum. Smiling, she remarked, "Madam Xiao, you look remarkably well and energetic today. Why did you claim to be unwell 2 days ago? And now you're out shopping. Are you underestimating us? Is that why you refuse to join us at banquets?" Xiao Xian burst into laughter and exchanged a glance with Fan Rian. "What are you talking about? I'm pregnant, not feeling well at the moment. How else can I explain it to you? I'll host a banquet when I'm free and treat you well." "I doubt that. Madam Xiao, you're precious. If anything happens, we won't be able to explain it clearly. Plus, if you don't feel well again, it might be intentional." "That wouldn't sound good," Xiao Xian responded. "Thank you for your consideration, Mrs. Bai. I wouldn't have thought of it if you hadn't mentioned it." Growing more displeased, Fan Rian glanced at Li Xia and Li Qiu, wearing a suggestive smile. "I have a good idea. Would you like to hear it, Madam Xiao?" She continued, "Do you want to hear it?" Without waiting for Xiao Xian's response, Fan Rian suggested with a smile, "Madam Xiao, it might be inconvenient for you. Wouldn't it save you a lot of trouble if you had an assistant? I think Miss Li Xia and Miss Li Qiu are quite charming. They're young, beautiful, and have a good temperament. Madam Xiao, why don't you ask Lord Xiao to give you face and take them as concubines? If any issues arise in the future, you'll have someone to help you. No need to trouble an outsider like Mrs. Guan. That's a good idea, isn't it?" Chapter 1722, Disturbing so many people. Fan Rian covered her mouth, giggling as she spoke. Raising her slender eyebrows, she praised Li Xia and Li Qiu with a smile. "Madam Xiao, you have good taste and know how to take care of people. Look at how pretty these two girls are. Whether Lord Xiao is lucky or not depends on whether you are willing to do it. Madam Xiao, you are such a virtuous woman. You must be willing to do it, right?" Xiao Xian was rendered speechless. What kind of peculiar thought process was this? Everywhere she went, there seemed to be people concerned about her husband's household affairs and questioning her virtue. It was rather perplexing. Her husband didn't even have a concubine, yet he became an eyesore to so many people. Li Xia and Li Qiu blushed, feeling a mix of anger and embarrassment. Unable to contain herself, Li Xia retorted, "Mrs. Bai, please refrain from talking nonsense. Our Lord and Madam share a deep love. If our Lord were to hear about this absurdity, he'd likely be displeased. Mrs. Bai, be cautious with your words. Though I'm just a servant, the thought of becoming a concubine has never crossed my mind. It's not something to be proud of. Mrs. Bai, don't drag me into this. I'm not a servant of your family, and you can't fabricate stories." Li Qiu sneered as well. "Mrs. Bai, aren't you reaching too far? What's your motive for using such words to mock our madam? Or is it just your nature? Do you enjoy spreading rumors about other old masters and madams considering concubines?" These words hinted that Mrs. Bai behaved like a matchmaker meddling in others' affairs. Furious and visibly trembling, Fan Rian glared at Xiao Xian, sneering, "Madam Xiao, your maids are quite audacious. Will you stand by and let me be humiliated like this?" Xiao Xian calmly responded, "Some people seem to enjoy humiliating themselves. Who can they blame? Is there a place for you to interfere in my lord's household matters? Your interest in other people's concubines is quite surprising. Perhaps you should consider taking in a few more for your own husband. It would save you energy and time, allowing you to focus on your own affairs." Fan Rian had never experienced such humiliation, especially not in front of her face. The damage and shame were magnified. She sneered angrily, "Madam Xiao, you're being unreasonable. Can't you let others question your virtue without getting angry from embarrassment?" Xiao Xian sneered in response, "Mrs. Bai, why don't you enlighten me on your own virtues?" Fan Rian was left speechless. Her husband was recruited by her. How could she allow anyone to comment on her husband's affairs, let alone entertain the thought of him taking a concubine? He didn't even have a maid. Such ideas were out of the question, as she firmly believed she had the right to dictate matters within her household. Xiao Xian inwardly chuckled at the absurdity of Fan Rian's situation. Despite facing such circumstances, she still found the audacity to comment on others. "I don't need your concern for my family, Mrs. Bai. You don't need to teach me how to manage my lord. I only take orders from my lord, Xiao Xian declared as she walked past Fan Ruyan and the others, entering a private room at the tea house with Li Xia. Fan Ruyan's expression turned frosty, clenching her fists in shame and anger. Mrs. Liao, sensing Fan Ruyan's discomfort, decided to join her side, subtly ridiculing Xiao Xian in a low voice. This attempt to show support for Fan Ruyan lightened her mood, and they left the scene. In the private room, Li Xia and Li Qiu appeared a bit angered and uneasy. Xiao Xian reassured them with a smile. That woman is absurd. Don't take her words seriously. It would be a joke if we let her provoke us. Chapter 1723. Rice Seed. Li Xia and Li Qiu shared laughter amidst their tears. Thank you, madam. Madam, you truly understand. It's a blessing for us. Xiao Xian threw a glance at Li Xia and playfully remarked, I'm eagerly anticipating your wedding. Li Qiu covered her mouth, stifling a snicker. Madam, please don't tease me. Li Xia blushed, finding it too embarrassing to smile. Throughout the gathering, Li Xia had exchanged glances with Songshi, a subtle connection that hadn't escaped Xiao Xian's notice. Had Xiao Yunduan not relocated to the rural area, Songshi would have approached Xiao Xian to discuss proposing to Li Xia. Now that he was in An's province, it was inevitable that Songshi would seek Xiao Xian's approval for their marriage. Aware that many in the Xiao family were privy to their connection, Xiao Xian had discreetly reminded Li Xia not to go too far in their interactions. Even if nothing improper occurred between them, the potential harm to their reputations was a concern. Li Xia had taken Xiao Xian's advice seriously, avoiding private meetings with Songshi. His impatience to marry was evident, a sentiment that Xiao Xian observed with amusement. As the market gradually dispersed, Xiao Xian and her servant descended, entered the wagon, and returned to the state office's backyard. Soon after, Xiao Yunduan returned, relieved to find Xiao Xian in better spirits. Meanwhile, Fan Ruyan returned home, her mind consumed by frustration. She sought solace in Old Lady Fan's company, venting her grievances. Old Lady Fan, already displeased with the feud over the seed, grew even angrier witnessing Xiao Xian supposedly mistreating her beloved daughter. Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao are incredibly intimidating. They show no regard for the Fan family whatsoever. I tried to overlook it, but their greed is escalating. Even my daughter and son-in-law can't escape their constant meddling. The prefect's wife is excessively nosy. She's arrogant and completely oblivious. When Old Lady Fan heard her daughter complain about Madame Xiao commenting on her son-in-law's reluctance to take concubines, she nearly exploded in anger. This was crossing a line. Who was Madame Xiao to interfere in her family's private matters? Was her arrogance fueled by some family background and connections? They should remember that this was An's province's territory. If the Fan family decided to oppose them, did they truly believe they could get away with it? How naive! Old Lady Fan was determined to teach Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan a lesson. This was far from over. Consequently, the shipment of rice seeds sent to Liangshan town in the southeast of An's province was intercepted by the bandits of Liuhe Fort at Luoshi Mount. Liangshan town, being the second largest town in An's province for cultivating food, had flatter terrain and more fertile fields than other places. In terms of rice seeds alone, even excluding some large families acquiring seeds through their own channels, the required amount was still around 160,000 caddies. On the journey, about half of the 160,000 caddies of rice seeds fell prey to the mountain bandits of Liuhe Fort. Officer Lu, responsible for the convoy, was terrified, and Sun Qian's face mirrored his distress. He dispatched 2 bailiffs to the state office for reporting and compelled Officer Lu to continue transporting the remaining rice seeds to Liangshan town with him. Retrieving the rice seeds taken by the bandits of Liuhe Fort was a priority, but the remaining half had to reach Liangshan town first. Chapter 1724. Follow-up. The document had been dispatched to town 2 days ago, and the timely delivery of the rice seeds was crucial to avoid any potential disruptions. The decision was made to distribute the available half first and devise a plan for the remaining seeds. Xiao Yunduan breathed a sigh of relief upon receiving the news and sought updates from Sun Qian and Officer Lu regarding the rice seeds. It was a relief. Regardless, at least half of the rice seeds would reach Liangshan town promptly, preventing widespread panic. While angered and somewhat surprised, Xiao Yunduan wasn't entirely caught off guard. This wasn't a prefecture capital of other states, it was a nest of bandits. What couldn't bandits in such a nest do? With a scarcity of resources, it wasn't entirely unexpected that the bandits would target the rice seeds. However, it was unacceptable. Xiao Yunduan decided to enhance security measures, increasing the number of escorts. Some would be visible while others would operate covertly. He preferred a slightly delayed delivery to risking another incident. He had already instructed Yuezheng Xiao to prepare around 60,000 caddies of rice seeds to compensate for the loss. Yet, a repeat occurrence would pose significant challenges. Convening everyone in the state office, Xiao Yunduan held a meeting to rearrange the rice seed delivery, emphasizing the importance of a secure transfer. The tension in the room was palpable, and everyone nodded in agreement, fully aware of the gravity of the situation. The atmosphere resembled walking on thin ice, with a collective fear of mishandling the task. While Xiao Yunduan asserted Officer Liu's innocence and refrained from punishing him, there lingered a sense of uncertainty regarding his true sentiments. They couldn't shake the feeling that there might be underlying resentment. The uncertainty of when he might pose challenges in the future lingered in their thoughts. In a private meeting, Jia Heming shared a concerning revelation with Xiao Yunduan. The three powerful mountain bandits Euro, Min family tribe, Liuhe Fort, and Tiger Head tribe Euro had absorbed numerous vagabonds, gaining immense influence that even the three major families hesitated to confront. With spring and summer leaving the young and elderly in their care, the mountain's limited resources led to insufficient food. Traditionally, during this period, the bandits descended to collect protection fees. This year, insufficient funds may have prompted Tiger Head tribe to resort to robbing food. Jia Heming subtly conveyed that the Min family tribe and Liuhe Fort might harbor similar intentions. For a prolonged period, Jia Heming emphasized to Xiao Yunduan that the three prominent families had fulfilled their protection fee obligations. However, due to Lord Xiao's recent conflicts with these families, they might withhold protection fees this year. It sounded absurd but was, unfortunately, the reality. Consequently, the mountain bandits might target the rice seeds. Expressing genuine concern for Lord Xiao's well-being, Jia Heming proposed acquiring extra security for the journey, even suggesting purchasing protection from potential threats. However, he clarified that this was just a precautionary measure. Jia Heming detested the mountain bandits and hoped for Lord Xiao to assert dominance over them. Nevertheless, Xiao Yunduan needed to prioritize his safety. The journey was fraught with risks, and the potential loss of the seeds, if anything went awry, would be too great. Chapter 1725. Lord Xiao is a bookworm. In such a scenario, the pride of the three influential clans would only soar higher. Xiao Yunduan reorganized the transportation plan for the rice seeds and displayed documents at the city gates. These documents carried a stern condemnation of the mountain bandits who had plundered the rice seeds. The language was forceful, accusing them of harming the common people of An's prefecture with heartless actions. The documents demanded the swift return of the seized rice seeds, warning of severe consequences if they refused. Xiao Yunduan was determined to settle the score. The documents swiftly circulated to the three mountain bandit strongholds. While a few individuals felt a pang of conscience and unease, the majority treated it with disdain. Mockery and laughter echoed, even from the major families inside and outside the city. I was curious about Lord Xiao's response, but is this it? Ha, what a joke. The thunder roars, but the rain is a mere drizzle. Lord Xiao seems oblivious to the real situation in An's province. Scholars, always preaching morality but lacking substance. Lord Xiao, do you truly believe you can deter those people? Ha. Exactly, just a bookworm. Such a jest. The entire city anticipated the next move of the prefect, only to be met with silence. Laughter intensified, and some harbored secret disappointment. The three families, in turn, breathed a silent sigh of relief. It was good that Lord Xiao was like this. Yuezheng Xiao had not returned yet, extending his stay in An's province for a few more days. Daily he roamed around, urging his friends to befriend the local young masters. Despite facing ridicule, he vehemently defended Xiao Yunduan, offering comfort and expressing frustration at the apparent blindness of those mocking him. Xiao Yunduan, however, smiled and urged him not to be bothered. He never concerned himself with unresolved matters. His priority, outside of work, was to spend time with his wife. Old Lady Fan, relishing Xiao Yunduan's defiant words, felt a mixture of happiness and slight regret, thinking she hadn't vented enough anger. Xiao Yunduan remained unaware that the hijacking of his rice seeds was a consequence of his family's revenge. Thus, he failed to grasp the extent of his family's influence evident in the incident. A missed opportunity. Upon seeing Xiao Yunduan resolving the rice seed issue, Deputy Prefect Guan experienced a mix of anger and envy. He hesitated, contemplating whether to step forward and fulfill his duties as Deputy Prefect. If he stayed inactive, would the Lord of the Prefect still regard him with fear and need his assistance in the future? As the rice seed matter was being resolved, the prestige of the Lord of the Prefect state was on the rise. It became clear that Deputy Prefect Guan could not allow himself to be overshadowed. Unexpectedly, another batch of rice seeds was stolen at this juncture. Deputy Prefect Guan knew these people too well. If there was one incident, another would follow. Especially considering the Lord of the Prefect's issuance of loud but seemingly futile documents. Were these mountain bandits to be underestimated? Deputy Prefect Guan anticipated more attacks. The wait to see if they would strike again was only a matter of time. Chapter 1726. Unwilling at this juncture, taking charge could mean that the Prefect Lord might delegate this troublesome matter to Deputy Prefect Guan, a potential invitation for trouble. After careful consideration, Deputy Prefect Guan decided to continue his recuperation. Secretly, he harbored a hope that Xiao Yunduan would face difficulties. The prospect of mountain bandits seizing more rice seeds excited him. He envisioned a scenario where Xiao Yunduan, desperate and unfortunate, would turn to him for help, allowing Deputy Prefect Guan to reclaim his dignity. However, even in recuperation, peace eluded him. To gain insights, he urged his wife to visit Madame Xiao in the East Courtyard frequently. He hoped to glean information from Madame Xiao. Mrs. Guan resisted the idea. She had no inclination to visit Xiao Xian without reason. Her desire to surpass Xiao Xian clashed with her realization that she consistently fell short. However, with her husband's future at stake, Mrs. Guan reluctantly agreed to go. Regardless of her intentions, she was going to visit Xiao Xian, and Xiao Xian had to entertain her. Mrs. Guan's constant sarcasm during these visits angered Xiao Xian. In 2 days, Mrs. Guan returned, only to be told by Li Xia and others that Madame Xiao was either resting or occupied with family affairs. Frustrated, Mrs. Guan refrained from coming. Meanwhile, in Xiao Yunduan's room, the rice seeds were being delivered as per his instructions. Meng Wanfu and Ding Xiang's men were discreetly deployed, joining Sun Bai, Sun Qian, Jing Sang, Yi, and others to ensure a smooth operation with no mishaps. Contrary to the bandits' belief that they had been spared, the success of Tiger Head Tribe had stirred unrest among Min Family Tribe and Liuhe Fort, driven by their own greed. Xiao Yunduan, undeterred, had posted a document that, while not overly insulting, spurred laughter from the 3 families. However, they were also keen on imparting a lesson to the Lord of the Prefect, emphasizing the consequences of careless words. Consequently, representatives from the 3 families coordinated to descend the mountain and intercept the officials. This caught the officials off guard for the first time, as the bandits anticipated a larger response from Lord Xiao. Although the bandits perceived the bailiffs as inconsequential passers-by, the increased number of officials posed a greater challenge to send away. Eager to boast about pilfering from the bookworm Lord Prefect, bandits from various villages scrambled to participate. Given the An's province government's reputation for incompetence and poverty, the Mountain Kings had refrained from robbing the government for years. Now presented with an opportunity, they were unwilling to let it slip away. The anticipation was palpable, with everyone eager to partake. In the end, lots were drawn to decide who would participate. The fortunate ones rejoiced, while the unlucky ones felt a profound sense of loss. Before taking action, preparations in the tribes included slaughtering sheep, pigs, and arranging wine for a celebration. However, this time proved markedly different from previous occasions. Sun Bai and Sun Qian, notable figures from the crown prince's residence, and Jing Sang and the others, seasoned warriors resisting northern invasions, demonstrated their prowess. Surviving harrowing battles spoke volumes about their capabilities. Chapter 1727, Long-Term Plan. Moreover, the 50 men sent by Meng Wanfu were all seasoned soldiers from the army. In gratitude for Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian's kindness, Meng Wanfu ensured that the men he dispatched were exceptional. These soldiers, alongside the current bailiffs, were organized into two groups to escort the rice seeds to their respective towns. The strategy involved a combination of visible and covert presence, with professional scouts deployed to survey the route. Facing undisciplined mountain bandits, their superiority was evident. Moreover, Tiger Head tribe, swayed by Xiao Yunduan's diplomatic approach, perceived the lord of the prefect as pedantic and incompetent, a belief that played to their advantage. However, the bandits lay in ambush within a dense forest, attacking the convoy transporting rice seeds without provocation. Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and others, following the principle of capturing leaders before subduing the bandits, launched stealthy attacks. Their targets were the deduced leaders, and had it not been for Xiao Yunduan's directive to inflict serious injuries without causing deaths, many leaders would not have escaped unharmed. Xiao Yunduan had a deliberate plan. Amidst spring plowing, farming took precedence. He aimed to avoid escalating tensions by refraining from killing the mountain bandits during this crucial time. The death of any bandit could infuriate the others, potentially spiraling the situation out of control. As he hadn't yet fully consolidated control over the An's province government office and subdued the influential families, Xiao Yunduan sought to avoid unnecessary trouble. This time, the leaders of the three mountain strongholds, mainly second-in-command and third-in-command figures, were all injured, with some sustaining serious wounds. The skirmish unfolded swiftly, with arrows descending like rain and hidden weapons swarming like locusts. Caught off guard, the mountain bandits screamed and fell to the ground before they could react. Had the attackers not shown mercy, escaping might have been an impossible feat for the mountain bandits. Realizing they had been exposed and had lost a significant portion of their combat strength, the mountain bandits understood that gaining anything more was practically impossible. The attackers, masked and clad in green, concealed their faces and, in some cases, even their figures. It became apparent that these individuals were external reinforcements invited by the bookworm Lord Prefect. It seemed money truly had the power to accomplish anything. Despite the Lord Prefect's apparent pedantry and lack of knowledge, his affluent background allowed him to secure powerful assistance, leading to their defeat. Fortunately, Xiao Yunduan exhibited prudence. Aware of the Mountain King's formidable influence, he refrained from ordering any killings, opting to inflict injuries instead. Returning to their stronghold in a sorry state, the mountain bandits felt extreme shame. Even now, the mountain bandits failed to take Xiao Yunduan seriously. They believed he still harbored fear, considering why he hadn't seized the opportunity to kill them. The Min family tribe pondered the situation. Given the prefect lord's apparent sensibility and newfound allies, they decided to spare him this time. With numerous wealthy families in An's province, starvation was not a concern. They doubted the prefect lord possessed sufficient funds to retain these skilled helpers for an extended period. Recognizing the expertise of these individuals, the mountain bandits speculated on the considerable expense involved. Chapter 1728. Again and again the lord of the prefect seemed destined to become a spendthrift. In due time, those who felt wronged by him would settle their scores. They were not willing to bear such a significant loss. Learning of the Min family tribe's sentiments, Liuhe Fort carefully considered the situation and formulated a similar plan. The Tiger Head tribe had reaped considerable benefits, with their second-in-command being the second person to descend the mountain. Unexpectedly, he was struck in the abdomen by an arrow, causing profuse bleeding and extreme pain. Recovery would take at least half a year, prompting him to endure the suffering temporarily. Revenge, as the saying goes, is a dish best served cold. Towns close to An's province promptly delivered the seeds, while those farther away saw the daily dispatch of escort teams to their respective locations, ensuring swift progress. The Fan family and the Mei family, anticipating Xiao Yunduan's embarrassment, were taken aback. Initially assuming that the Mountain Kings had refrained from another attack, further investigation revealed the battle had concluded before it even commenced. What was Lord Xiao up to? His actions were truly unpredictable. Old Lady Fan, angered by what felt like another slap in the face, refused to back down. She covertly sent benefits to the Tiger Head tribe, urging them to act again. A lesson needed to be taught to the lord of the prefect state. Reluctantly agreeing to the Fan family's request, the Tiger Head tribe couldn't afford to appear afraid of the bookish prefect, fearing damage to their reputation. Chao Meng, the second-in-command, bedridden and cursing Xiao Yunduan incessantly, now saw an opportunity for revenge through an alliance with the Fan clan. He was determined not to let it slip away, no matter the cost. Unable to take action personally, he delegated the task to his trusted subordinates. Consequently, his right-hand men, accompanied by the third-in-charge, Jin Shan, and 20 brothers, were dispatched. Acting on information provided by the Fan family, they attempted another ambush. Though the number of brothers descending the mountain was limited this time, each one was a meticulously chosen elite. Their objective extended beyond merely seizing the rice seeds. They sought revenge for the injured second-in-charge. The second-in-charge insisted that, if the rice seeds couldn't be taken, they should be set ablaze. Even if reduced to ashes, they must not fall into the hands of the officials. Equipped with oil, the plan was to swiftly pour it into the carriage transporting the rice seeds and ignite the fire. The move was undoubtedly ruthless, but given Chao Meng's severe injuries and unreleased anger, such viciousness was almost expected. This marked the final leg of the long-distance escort. After this journey, the need for long-distance escorts would cease. Safer routes awaited, with no dense forests or valleys to navigate. Although Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and the others outwardly relaxed, internally, their training demanded vigilance until the mission's completion. Just as goshawks exert their full strength to capture rabbits, the habit of not letting the guard down until the last moment prevailed. When Jin Shan and his subordinates charged aggressively, Sun Bai and Sun Qian were initially surprised by their persistence and fearlessness. Yet they remained composed. With swift shouts and orders, bailiffs rushed to protect the rice seed-laden carriage, while Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and their companions drew their swords to confront the assailants. The chaotic battle's outcome became evident swiftly. Burning with anger, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and the others had spared these adversaries once before, but this time, they harbored no intentions of showing mercy. Chapter 1729. An's prefecture city is shocked again. Little did they anticipate that these individuals were unafraid of death and dared to face them head-on. The Tiger Head tribe believed they had come prepared, with a team of elite warriors catching the other party off guard. They were fueled by the desire to avenge their prior humiliation, gain significant advantages, and retaliate for their injured second-in-charge. With fervor coursing through their veins, they charged forward with aggressive determination, intending to erase their past shame and secure a resounding victory that would resonate throughout An's province. However, within half an hour, signs of their impending defeat became glaringly apparent. Jin Shan and his brothers, shocked and enraged, couldn't contain their emotions. Amid their anger and embarrassment, a loud shout pierced the air. Several individuals wielding fire torches rushed towards the carriage, disregarding all else. The remaining mountain bandits desperately attempted to provide cover. Upon seeing the imminent threat of arson, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and their companions unleashed their restrained fury. What had initially been a 30% holdback transformed into unbridled aggression, each move calculated to take lives. Blood sprayed, limbs flew, and cries of agony echoed through the valley. The ground became a gruesome tapestry of scattered corpses, with dark red pools seeping into the sand, gravel, and grass, creating a chilling spectacle under the sunlight. As their brethren fell one by one, Jin Shan and the others roared in a desperate bid to fight back. Yet, the vast difference in strength between the two sides proved insurmountable, even with their reckless efforts. More lives were claimed, and the carriage transporting the rice seeds remained untouchable. With each casualty, the initially bold mountain bandits descended into fear, their once inspiring courage replaced by dread. Chao Meng's right-hand man succumbed to panic, losing the initial ambition to avenge his boss. Shouting orders to cover their retreat, they dragged a red-eyed Jin Shan away, desperately fleeing the scene. Witnessing their leader's retreat, the remaining mountain bandits crumbled, scattering like frightened birds. Had escorting the rice seeds not been their paramount concern, and the fear of potential mishaps gripping them, none would have managed to escape. Bailiffs stared at the strewn corpses and pooling blood, their bodies trembling, faces drained of color, and hearts racing with fear. The sheer might displayed by Lord Xiao's trusted subordinates left the bailiffs in awe. It was a level of power that sent shivers down their spines. Sun Bai, with a disdainful glance, scolded, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and check if there's anything wrong with the carriage. A few of you, clean up the scene." Those accustomed to following Sun Bai and Sun Qian promptly complied, taking swift action. The other bailiffs struggled to move their stiff hands and feet, eventually regaining composure after some time. This was an unprecedented scene for them. In all their years as bailiffs, the most blood they had encountered were a few drops from street gangsters with minor injuries. Compared to this, those instances seemed inconsequential. Despite the initial shock, excitement soon took over. The two constable sons had proven their prowess by defeating the Tiger Head tribe bandits and escaping. For these bailiffs, who had suffered at the hands of the Tiger Head tribe in the past, this turn of events was exhilarating. The mountain bandits had once swaggered through An's province, seemingly immune to the authorities. Now, the officials not only confronted them but decisively defeated them. An's prefecture city found itself shaken once again. The prominent families and even the three mountain bandits were left astounded. Jin Shan, returning to the stronghold with a dark and humiliated expression, silenced anyone daring to breathe loudly in his presence. Chapter 1730. It's not too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Out of the 36 brothers who descended the mountain with Jin Shan, only 6 made it back. All 30 of them met their end at the mountain's base, betrayed by the hands of those accursed officials. These 30 individuals comprised the elite intermediate forces of the village. Even though his boss didn't lay blame upon him, he couldn't face his remaining brothers. The anger and guilt overwhelmed him whenever he looked into their eyes. Xiao Yunduan, he vowed not to let him off. Even if it meant risking his life, he intended to keep him alive in An's province. Chao Meng seethed with anger, almost spitting blood as he cursed furiously. His brothers went down the mountain seeking revenge, a large group departing, but only a handful returned in a sorry state. The injustice of it all was unbearable. Thankfully, lacking the strength at the moment, he refrained from immediate descent. Otherwise, he would have stormed down the mountain, relentless until the dog official met his end. Chao Meng instructed someone to summon Boss Qing, Jin Shan, and the other core members of the intermediate village for a meeting. "Elder brother, we can't let this matter slide. Otherwise, our Tiger Head tribe won't be able to hold our heads high." Competition among the mountain kings was fierce, rooted in reputation and strength within the martial world. Whoever possessed the bigger fist, the harder resolve, and more loyalty to martial values garnered more respect. Despite suffering heavy losses and appearing weakened, Chao Meng refused to become a coward. He couldn't bear the disdain, even from himself. The others shared his fury and determination. "This can't stand. We can't let them off the hook. We were careless before. In a fair face-to-face fight, those government lackeys wouldn't stand a chance. They can't even withstand a kick from me. Second in charge is spot on. Revenge is a must. None of you dare challenge me. That dog official's head belongs to me." Laughter erupted among the leaders as they proceeded to berate Xiao Yunduan and the officials. Once the scolding concluded, the atmosphere lightened considerably, shedding the previous bitterness. Even the embarrassed Jin Shan showed a slight improvement in his complexion. Boss Qing sneered and spoke slowly. "Certainly revenge is in order, but not immediately. Chow Meng raised his head, eager to interject. Boss Euro, hear me out first. Don't be hasty. This time, no small patrolling troops were dispatched. We sent elite fighters with exceptional martial skills. Third brother personally led the team, and his martial prowess speaks for itself. He was well prepared, catching the other party off guard. But who could have known a Euro? I'm at fault too. We're all at fault. We underestimated the enemy. We can't dismiss this person as a mere good-for-nothing just because past prefects were. We should have realized that this kid has some backing and confidence, daring to confront the three families head-on. After all, scholars fear death the most. Without support he wouldn't dare. Nods from the mountain bandits echoed agreement. They clenched their fists, sighed, and expressed deep regret. Boss is right. Indeed, we were too careless. Sigh. Therefore, we mustn't act recklessly. We need to unravel his background first. We've already marked this person's head. As long as he remains in An's province, his head will be ours sooner or later. If he attempts to leave, well, he'll have to leave his head behind. Chapter 1731. Endure for now. The bandits, their blood coursing with ardor and zeal, eagerly rubbed their palms together. Boss is spot on. His head must be ours. If we let him live, the heavens won't stand for it. Revenge for our fallen brothers. Chow Meng, unconvinced, questioned, so, are we just letting this slide? I can't accept it. Jin Shan, burdened with guilt, interjected, Boss, second brother, it's my fault for being useless. I messed up. Chow Meng quickly reassured him, third brother, don't blame yourself. I don't blame you, and our brothers won't either. It's all that dog official's fault. He's gone too far. The mountain bandits voiced their solidarity, offering comfort to Jin Shan. Boss Qing added, third brother, enough. We're all brothers. There's no point dwelling on this. Second brother is right. It's that dog official's fault. His lackey, henchman, lapdog, is heartless and vicious. The bandits grew more united against their common enemy, unleashing a barrage of curses. After persistent persuasion, Boss Qing finally managed to convince Chow Meng and Jin Shan. He tasked Jin Shan with training the brothers in the stronghold and allowed Chow Meng time to recuperate. He then dispatched someone to investigate the dog official's background and the current situation at the government office. In essence, revenge was on the horizon, and their approach had to be strategic. When Sun Bai and Sun Qian reported the incident to Xiao Yunduan, he too felt shock and anger. He ordered the cleanup of the scene, the burial of the mountain bandits' bodies, and instructed the siblings to prepare for a counterattack. Additionally, he emphasized strengthening patrols, fortifying the city gate and state office defenses, and intensifying bailiff training. Those mountain bandits were too detestable. He really dared to do anything. The mountain bandits persistently provoked, repeatedly targeting the rice seeds. Unable to steal them, their intent shifted to destruction, marking them as perpetrators of a heinous crime deserving punishment. Despite the justified anger, Xiao Yunduan remained cautious of potential counterattacks and revenge. Jia Heming, the exception, maintained silence but harbored secret satisfaction. He grew increasingly engaged in sharing the lord of the prefect's concerns, offering ideas willingly. In stark contrast, the other scribes trembled in fear, haunted by the possibility of mountain bandits infiltrating the city for vengeance. There were also a few scribes who resigned because they could not withstand this fear. When Xiao Yunduan asked for the reason, he either said that he was too old to delay his work, so he had to resign, or that he did not think that he was suitable for the job, so he found another Oniyuro. Xiao Yunduan knew what was going on, so he did not ask them to stay. Instead, he asked them to leave and gave them 2 more months' salary. The scribes who had resigned were all overjoyed and grateful. They left happily. Xiao Yunduan instructed Jia Heming to recruit individuals based on his specifications, with the final hiring decision to be made after interviews. Numerous child students who couldn't attain cultivated talent status were available. While local cultivated talents were scarce, there were still some within reach. The public position offered stability and respectability, making it highly desirable. Moreover, candidates often came from families with existing government office connections, instilling confidence and deterring potential provocations. This was something that nothing else could compare to. Xiao Yunduan felt that it was exactly what Xiao Yunduan wanted when these people left on their own accord. That way, he would be able to choose his own people. The people he had chosen were naturally biased towards him. The influence and connections of Deputy Prefect Guan would gradually decrease. Chapter 1732. Lord is impulsive. Xiao Yunduan found himself secretly wishing that Deputy Prefect Guan could extend his recuperation for another year and a half. However, Deputy Prefect Guan faced a dilemma. Xiao Yunduan's men had slain a significant number of mountain bandits, instilling fear in Deputy Prefect Guan. The looming threat of retaliation left him hesitating, even as he neared recovery. Despite his ongoing recovery, Deputy Prefect Guan believed it was crucial to issue a stern warning to the audacious Lord Prefect, regardless of his incomplete recuperation. Summoning his servants, Deputy Prefect Guan, with a frail appearance, made his way to Xiao Yunduan in the East Yard. Lord, those bandits are impulsive individuals. Slaughtering so many at once might provoke a reckless retaliation. Impulsive as they are, they won't care about the consequences. If they infiltrate the city and wreak havoc, causing severe repercussions, wouldn't it be Lord, your actions this time were indeed impulsive. Xiao Yunduan had just finished work and returned to the East Yard for a conversation with Qiao Xian over strawberries. His wife, pregnant and craving strawberries, was in a cheerful mood. Capitalizing on her good mood, he intended to enjoy some benefits. Just as they were indulging in a moment together, Deputy Prefect Guan's arrival forced Xiao Yunduan to attend to him in the study. Observing Deputy Prefect Guan feigning injury, Xiao Yunduan could no longer tolerate it. Attempting to teach him a lesson, Xiao Yunduan hinted at publicly punishing Sun Bai and Sun Qian to appease the bandits' anger. Deputy Prefect Guan, are you suggesting that Sun Bai and Sun Qian should let the bandits burn the rice seeds and harm people? This way, the bandits won't descend the mountain for revenge, and the government can proceed without worry? Deputy Prefect Guan indeed harbored such thoughts, but he dared not voice them. Furthermore, he recognized that once the rice seeds were set ablaze, the quantity tens of thousands of kilograms posed a formidable challenge for transportation from other locations. Not only did the issue extend to quantity, but it also involved substantial concerns regarding time and financial resources. To be blunt, there was no right course of action in this predicament. Yet, wasn't it Lord Xiao who had stirred up this turmoil? If only his initial stance had been more accommodating, wouldn't this crisis have been averted? However, Deputy Prefect Guan hesitated to express this sentiment, burdened with grievances. He believed that his actions were for the greater good of An's province, the state government, and its citizens. Nevertheless, the Lord of the Prefect not only failed to grasp or appreciate his intentions but also exhibited aggression. In Deputy Prefect Guan's view, if he hadn't intervened, An's province would have remained unscathed. The moment he arrived, the situation escalated dramatically, resulting in numerous casualties. The toll in Tiger Head tribe alone was significant, and they would undoubtedly seek retribution. These bandits were interconnected. The Min family tribe and Liuhe fort might exploit the chaos, and by offending the three major clans, he had simultaneously antagonized all family clans in An's province. In such a predicament, who would come to his aid? Did he genuinely believe that he could resolve the bandit issue in An's prefecture merely because he had a few martial artists with decent skills? Such a notion was gravely mistaken. If it were indeed that straightforward, the imperial court would have dispatched officials long ago to address the matter. They couldn't afford to turn a blind eye to such a significant issue. Chapter 1733. More angry if the bandits were driven to fury and resorted to killing civilians as an act of revenge, who would bear the blame? Let's observe if the commoners would direct their discontent towards none other than the prefect. The more Deputy Prefect Guan pondered over the situation, the more his frustration grew. That wasn't my intention. I'm merely cautioning you, my lord. Your impulsiveness could escalate matters beyond control. Do you not fear the consequences of letting things spiral like this? Xiao Yunduan sneered in response. What's there to fear? Let me reiterate. As long as I am present in An's province, I want to part easily. I won't tolerate the oppression of those bandits and the 3 prominent families. This is the domain of the court, not theirs. I understand the challenges, the uphill battle, but I'll face it head-on. I'll certainly overcome it. Deputy Prefect Guan fell silent. After a moment, he scoffed, "My lord, you're not the first prefect to express such sentiments. But I will be the last, as it won't repeat. Since you hold such convictions, I can only wait and witness. I hope you won't regret your decision." "Absolutely not. I'll take my leave." Deputy Prefect Guan hurriedly departed in frustration, feeling that his well-intentioned advice had fallen on deaf ears. Xiao Yunduan took a deep breath and remained silent, gazing into the vacant space before him. Eventually, he turned around and resumed his company with Qiao Xian. Qiao Xian, reclining under the shade of a tree in the backyard, heard approaching footsteps. She looked up, offering a smile to Xiao Yunduan. Seeing him seated beside her, she gently grasped his hand and inquired, "Is Deputy Prefect Guan back to create more complications for you?" Much like how Mrs. Guan always managed to irk her every time she appeared. Xiao Yunduan's expression softened as he held her soft, slender hands and smiled. "It's an old story, really. I find it amusing. Those mountain bandits and the 3 prominent families are not reasonable individuals. Deputy Prefect Guan is too idealistic." Qiao Xian remarked, "He's not idealistic, he's fearful. He believes our husband has upset the balance and will stir up trouble. How can he compare to our husband? It's not surprising he's apprehensive." "Wife, your insight is remarkable." They exchanged smiles. How could Deputy Prefect Guan know about their trump card? Unless the 3 bandit dens united and launched an attack on An's province, their defeat was certain. No matter how capable they were, could they match Sun Bai, Sun Qian, Jing Sang, Wu Guan, and Yi? Additionally, there were individuals dispatched by Meng Wanfu. They were simply biding their time, waiting for an opportunity to dismantle the 3 bandit nests one by one. The 3 prominent families were no different. If they became unruly, wasn't it easy for the government to handle them? Numerous obedient families were eager to stand out. With support from a few of them, someone would undoubtedly emerge victorious. If the 3 prominent families decided to lavish money and resources on others, they might find themselves unable to outdo their own families. Despite this, Qiao Xian was pregnant, and Xiao Yunduan yearned for a tranquil life. Yet, some individuals seemed determined to avoid peace. Initially, Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan had planned to venture outside the city to survey those lands. However, amidst the unfolding events, such plans were now impossible. At this moment, Xiao Yunduan would not allow her to leave the city. The air was thick with uncertainties. In An's province, events unfolded in ways that defied expectations elsewhere. Qiao Xian was aware of her own safety, yet she couldn't disclose her superpower to him, forcing her to resign herself to the silence. Chapter 1734. No more show. The potato and herb seeds, along with some fruit saplings, were delivered, courtesy of Yuezhing Xiao. Qiao Xian expressed her gratitude and arranged for someone to transport the seeds to the state office's backyard, eager to inspect them herself. Qiao Xian found solace when she infused her superpowers into the seeds. This way, even if she couldn't tend to the 500-meter field for a year, she was confident it wouldn't result in a misshapen harvest. With little else to occupy his time, Yuezhing Xiao stayed for a few days to assist. He diligently planted all the seeds and herbs before bidding farewell to Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian. "I have a feeling An's province isn't as peaceful as it seems. Those families are too audacious. Lord Xiao, if you ever need assistance, just let me know. Yuzhang isn't far, we can reach here in 2.5 days without delay. I also want to test the Yuezhing family's influence. For the Yuezhing family to offer assistance, they would need connections in the business world. If An's province sought to wield this as a threat against Xiao Yunduan, they might find themselves outmatched. Suppressing the Yuezhing family, Zhao Shu, and the 3 major families of An's province seemed like an improbable dream. Xiao Yunduan chuckled heartily and clasped his hands at Yuezhing Xiao. "Rest assured, brother Yuezhing, if the need arises, I'll certainly seek your assistance." Yuezhing Xiao responded, It's not just assistance, it's a mutually beneficial arrangement. We've always sought win-win situations. They shared a laugh. Xiao Yunduan penned a letter and handed it to Yuezhing Xiao. Qiao Xian arranged a thoughtful gift and requested Yuezhing Xiao to take it home. Especially the joyful news of Qiao Xian's pregnancy. Her mother must be eagerly anticipating it for her peace of mind and happiness. Xiao Yunduan was swamped with responsibilities, leaving him with no time to send someone home. Fortunately, Yuezhing Xiao was present to fulfill the task. Once things settled down, if their mother and others wished to visit, they could send someone to pick them up and stay for a while. However, that was not the case at the moment. Concerned that Yuezhing Xiao might encounter trouble on the way, Xiao Yunduan asked Yi and Sun Qian to escort him out of An's province. Sun Qian and Yi only returned after ensuring Yuezhing Xiao had safely reached another significant town. The three prominent clans initially shared Deputy Prefect Guan's belief that the Tiger Head tribe would surely retaliate and seek revenge. To their surprise, after a considerable wait, there was no sign of reprisal. Old Lady Fan grew increasingly anxious and discreetly dispatched individuals to contact the Tiger Head tribe for information. Unexpectedly, Tiger Head tribe ignored her this time and remained silent. This silence could be comprehended. They were concealing their strength and choosing the right moment. Seeking immediate revenge wasn't practical. What more was there to say? It would be embarrassing to articulate. Why subject themselves to embarrassment? If Tiger Head tribe chose not to acknowledge the Fan clan, so be it. What significance did it hold? Tiger Head tribe showed no regard for the Fan clan, leaving them feeling utterly powerless. Even though Old Lady Fan possessed a proud demeanor, she dared not blame Tiger Head tribe. Instead, she shifted the blame onto Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian. Those bandits from Tiger Head tribe are formidable and vengeful. Even if they haven't retaliated now, it doesn't mean they won't in the future. Just wait and see. Old Lady Fan reluctantly held back her thoughts. Spring plowing took precedence, especially for the Fan family. They had to attend to the agricultural tasks before anything else. Chapter 1735. Giving in at the Mei family, the season brought warmer weather, making it an opportune time for venturing into the mountains for woodcutting. Specializing in the wood business, the Mei family operated a sizable furniture workshop and engaged in log trading. In An's province, vast mountains and towering forests extended as far as the eye could see, making it impossible to reach the outskirts even after several days of walking. However, being in the wood business didn't mean having the freedom to cut down trees at will. While commoners were permitted to ascend the mountains to cut a few trees for personal use, engaging in the wood business required government registration. Upon approval, they could then enter the mountains for tree cutting activities. Moreover, there were strict guidelines for tree cutting. Loggers were required to make every effort to avoid harming young trees, and trees that had stood for centuries were off-limits. In fact, loggers refrained from cutting down ancient trees, as they were unconsciously revered as sacred beings protected by the mountain god. Disturbing these venerable trees might incur the wrath of the mountain god, potentially causing a calamity. It was a risk they were not willing to take. The government's approval wasn't granted freely. For each tree felled, taxes had to be paid. Despite the Mei family cutting down a substantial number of trees annually, the taxes they paid were a mere fraction of what was rightfully owed. Even so, the Mei family harbored grievances and dissatisfaction with the government. However, each prefect lord remained submissive and refrained from voicing objections. Whenever the Mei family sought conveniences, the government readily acquiesced without protest. This treatment extended to the other two family clans. As for the various other large and small family clans, as long as they aligned themselves with the three leading families and followed in their wake, they were assured a share of the benefits. Without this arrangement, the government of An's province wouldn't have incurred such significant losses, leaving them with less than 100 taels of silver. They often found themselves borrowing money from the three major families to cover salary distributions. This loan wasn't granted without conditions. It required them to offer something in exchange, such as government-approved documents. As the Mei family planned to enter the mountains for tree cutting that year, obtaining the necessary document from the authorities was imperative. Without it, foreign merchants would refuse to take goods from them to avoid potential complications. If discovered by the government without the required document, not only would their goods be confiscated, but hefty fines would also be imposed. No one was willing to take such risks without proper documentation. Despite the Mei family looking down on the Anne's province state government, it remained an irreplaceable entity for any family clan, regardless of their power. Two madams from the Mei family visited Xiao Xian with gifts. Anyone seeking to navigate the complexities of governance would first pay a visit to Xiao Xian, the wife of the prefect. The Mei family, somewhat apprehensive of Xiao Yunduan, prepared an exceptionally generous gift, surpassing what they had presented to other prefect lords. However, both Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan declined the offering, making first Mrs. Mei's visit fruitless. Xiao Xian firmly rejected the gift, prompting first Mrs. Mei to attempt changing the subject. Faced with Xiao Xian's insistence, she had no choice but to take the gift back. It marked the first time someone had returned a gift from the Mei family, leaving first Mrs. Mei feeling disgruntled. Xiao Xian shared the encounter with Xiao Yunduan, jesting, "The Mei family is making their move. Hubby, keep an eye out. Much depends on this." Xiao Yunduan smiled. "Let them try to compete with those mountain bandits from the Tiger Head tribe." Chapter 1736, Anne states intermediate peace. Old Lady Fan reveled in the Mei family's setback. She had long asserted her desire to teach the inexperienced prefect lord a lesson, making him understand who held true authority in Anne's prefecture. Now, it seemed like retribution had arrived. Did they recall the satisfaction they felt watching the Fan family's missteps in the past? Now that the tables were turned, did they still relish in that feeling? Anticipating that the Mei family would approach them to discuss countermeasures, Old Lady Fan had prepared to mock them. However, to her surprise, the Mei family acquiesced. Soon after, the Mei family dutifully paid the official fees and obtained the required document to commence their mountain work. Observing this, Old Lady Fan, who had been expecting a show, felt greatly disappointed. Witnessing the Mei family's compliance, the Hua family abandoned their initial resistance and diligently went about their work. Upon hearing about Madame Xiao's cultivation of medicinal herbs in the fields, the two madams of the Hua family paid a visit. Their expressions suggested a keen interest in the matter. Xiao Xian didn't reject their curiosity but engaged with them with a subtle smile. If the Hua family presented a favorable offer, selling the herbs to them wouldn't be out of the question. With the three major families exhibiting discipline, the other large and small family clans dared not act out. Anne's province, as a whole, experienced an unusual tranquility, fostering a flourishing environment. Jia Hemming and others were invigorated and exuded confidence. Yet, during private discussions between Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, both were skeptical that the three families would simply let the matter rest. Their restrained actions were a result of not fully understanding their own background, and it wasn't the opportune moment to act recklessly. They refrained from hasty moves, aware that, given the chance, they would unleash their full strength and attack without hesitation. Xiao Yunduan remained vigilant, recognizing that peace was precarious. This period offered an opportunity for recuperation and personal growth. Sun Bai and the others could dedicate more time to training the bailiffs in the 500 meters. Xiao Xian's land had undergone exploration. 2,000 mu of potatoes were planted on 4,000 mu of flat terrain, while the remaining 1,000 mu, along with hundreds of mu at the mountain's base, were dedicated to King Solomon's seal, angelica, crow dipper, and honeysuckle cultivation. Exploring the entire 50,000 mu of mountains was a slow process. With only 6,000 mu opened up so far, the rest temporarily halted. Summer's arrival, bringing increased vegetation and the presence of poisonous snakes, insects, and ants in the mountains, made exploration unsuitable. They planned to resume exploration in late autumn, hiring more personnel at that time. The 6,000 mu already explored were exclusively dedicated to peppercorn cultivation. Yuezheng Xiao's connections facilitated the transportation of seedlings from the southwest, arriving at an opportune moment. Xiao Xian opted to plant all the peppercorns for easier management, reserving star anise and pepper planting for the following year. Despite the unsuitable exploration conditions during this time of the year, they focused on constructing roads, houses and warehouses. Qiao Xian tasked Songshi and others to spend an additional month or so to complete these tasks. Previous employees could continue to be employed for these endeavors. Qiao Xian instructed Songshi, Lu Fu, and others to discreetly observe. Subsequently, she selected approximately 20 individuals from these intermediate workers and approached them, inquiring if they were willing to sign long-term employment contracts. With numerous plots of land requiring daily management, relying solely on Songshi and the others proved insufficient even with their unwavering dedication. Assigning individuals to patrol the mountain daily became essential, monitoring the growth of the herb seedlings. It was imperative to address any deficiencies promptly and weed the areas in need. Chapter 1737. Deputy Prefect Guan's recovery. Songshi and the others would feel more at ease with short-term workers overseeing the tasks. As they continued developing all the barren mountains, the need for long-term workers would increase, not to mention the ongoing requirement for short-term workers. This marked only the beginning. Qiao Xian's primary aim was to generate more employment opportunities for the people of An's province, aligning her family's interests with those of the local community. From Sichuan peppercorns, star anise, pepper, medicinal herbs, to potatoes, the potential for expansion and cultivation was vast. If the harvests proved profitable, more individuals would likely engage in planting, prompting continuous growth. Her vision was to transform the vast An's province into a renowned region for spices and herbs, leveraging its unique advantages. Given An's province's sheer size, it was destined to become increasingly vibrant. Yuezhing Shao decided to establish a branch of the Yuezhing family in the city, alongside 3 dessert shops offering a variety of fresh fruits. Qiao Xian and Shao Yunduan endorsed the plan. Shao Yunduan entertained the idea of reaching out to the prefect of Yuzhang to upgrade the official road between An's province and Yuzhang. His vision included widening, flattening, and implementing other improvements. However, this ambitious project required substantial investment, making it currently unfeasible. Despite the families settling their debts due to external pressure, An's province still owed Qiao Xian 620,000 taels of silver. Shao Yunduan had managed to pay off 120,000 but still owed 500,000. Progress on other projects would have to wait until the outstanding amount was settled. Upon Deputy Prefect Guan's recovery, he offered to share Lord Shao's burden at the government office. "I'm truly ashamed. My body has been disappointing, and it seems luck hasn't been on my side. If not for these setbacks, I could have assisted you earlier. Now that I've finally recovered from my injuries, you can take a well-deserved rest after working tirelessly for so long. Leave all the miscellaneous matters to me. Lord, rest assured. Having spent many years in An's province, I'm intimately familiar with its administrative affairs. I guarantee flawless resolution of all matters on your behalf. Lord, feel free to stay away from the government office for at least half a month." Deputy Prefect Guan confidently patted his chest, addressing Shao Yunduan with a smile. His words carried a tone as if he had made significant sacrifices, ensuring Shao Yunduan could enjoy a peaceful break. It almost seemed as if Shao Yunduan had taken advantage of him. He fell short of saying, "Look at all I've done for you without asking for anything in return. Let's see if I'm treated well." Shao Yunduan chuckled inwardly. Did Deputy Prefect Guan think others were fools? It was evident that if he continued pretending to be unwell, he would gain nothing and lose all his prestige. Despite his impatience, he spoke with great pomp. If he claimed to have fully recovered and could resume normal duties, Shao Yunduan wouldn't bother arguing at this point. However, Deputy Prefect Guan's eagerness to seize power while framing it as if Shao Yunduan had taken advantage of him was quite distasteful. Taking care of one's health is crucial. Have you genuinely recovered? If not, there's no harm in taking a bit more time to recuperate. I'm not heartless. Even if you decide to rest for another year and a half, the rightful salary will still be yours. Chapter 1738. Taking charge. I'm a representative of the party, committed to serving the people and pursuing their best interests. It's both my duty and a matter of trust bestowed by the imperial court. How could I easily delegate these governmental responsibilities to others? Wouldn't that be a betrayal of both the imperial court and the people? If you've truly recovered, feel free to resume your office duties tomorrow. I have full confidence in your ability to handle the job excellently. Don't even consider taking on tasks that aren't rightfully yours. Deputy Prefect Guan proved to be more audacious than Xiao Yunduan had anticipated. Despite Xiao Yunduan's attempt to extend some courtesy, Deputy Prefect Guan believed he could push for more. Flashing a forced smile, he assured, "Rest assured, Lord, I'll handle my responsibilities. Just focus on your recovery. I managed all affairs in An's province before your arrival, so I'm well-versed and won't make any mistakes. As Deputy Prefect, it's my duty to assist you." Ignoring the unreasonable man, Xiao Yunduan dismissed him with a few words. To his surprise, the next day at the government office, Deputy Prefect Guan acted as if he were in charge, issuing orders with authority. Being Deputy Prefect, he already had supporters who flattered him. With his arrival, they saw a leader and eagerly followed suit. Observing him seamlessly taking charge and managing affairs as usual brought even more joy to his demeanor. What did this signify? It meant that within the government office, Deputy Prefect Guan's status remained unshakable and his influence persisted. This development alleviated tension among the office staff. Jia Heming and other scribes, who were not accustomed to Deputy Prefect Guan and were hired by Xiao Yunduan, found it unbearable. After some deliberation, they decided to adhere to the established rules in the government office. Everyone would perform their duties impartially, following Lord Xiao's instructions or official protocols. In case Deputy Prefect Guan issued any directives, they would seek confirmation from Lord Xiao before complying. Observing Deputy Prefect Guan's enthusiastic demeanor, Xiao Yunduan noticed he immediately assumed a masterly role upon returning to work. Choosing to avoid the situation, Xiao Yunduan opted to spend more time with Qiao Xian in the backyard, giving Deputy Prefect Guan the freedom to act as he pleased. As he devoted himself to addressing challenges, Xiao Yunduan also assessed the individuals within the government, identifying those who could genuinely be nurtured, discerning the unworthy, and recognizing the fence-sitters. He believed in addressing all issues comprehensively rather than allowing problems to persist. Deputy Prefect Guan reveled in this newfound authority, secretly patting himself on the back. Confident in his unassailable position within government office, he drew strength from years of managerial experience and a network of loyal subordinates. Despite Lord Xiao's competence, Deputy Prefect Guan felt assured that, given his role in managing the bailiffs, Lord Xiao would not disregard him or refrain from relying on his expertise. However, his confidence waned as he soon realized that the current provincial government was no longer a realm where he could command as he pleased. Many scribes were proving less than obedient, challenging his authority. Chapter 1739. Let him do it. Unlike in the past, when he gave an order, someone would immediately follow it. It wasn't like now, where they would reject him or use Lord Xiao as an excuse, which made Deputy Prefect Guan furious. Deputy Prefect Guan was unwilling to give up, so he started looking for trouble. However, Jia Heming knew him well and had long been on guard. It was not so easy for him to catch Jia Heming and the others. After all, Jia Heming wasn't targeting him on purpose. He was doing everything according to the rules, or he would rebut everything by saying, "Lord Xiao told me to." Deputy Prefect Guan was furious. In the past, Jia Heming and the others wouldn't have had the guts to do this to him. They were relying on Lord Xiao. Did they really think that he could not deal with them? Unable to find legitimate faults, Deputy Prefect Guan resorted to targeted harassment against Jia Heming. Exploiting his authority, Deputy Prefect Guan abused his position to control others and assigned Jia Heming a mission with the intention of making it impossible to complete. He subtly instigated trouble through veiled hints, creating a situation where Jia Heming faced insurmountable challenges. Seizing the opportunity, Deputy Prefect Guan publicly berated Jia Heming, accusing him of being careless, incompetent, and unworthy of his position. Jia Heming, grappling with his anger, attempted to defend himself. However, before he could articulate his points, Deputy Prefect Guan rudely interrupted him, levying accusations of rudeness, disrespect, and insubordination without providing any chance for explanation. Though cursing inwardly, Jia Heming refrained from uttering a word, fearing that any response might lead to further name-calling and derogatory labels. Witnessing Jia Heming's silence, Deputy Prefect Guan took pleasure in his perceived victory. Fueling his anger, he intensified the verbal assault, aiming to set an example and showcase the consequences of opposing him and disregarding his authority. This targeted mistreatment persisted for 3 to 4 consecutive days, as Deputy Prefect Guan continued to subject Jia Heming to various forms of harassment. Initially, there were individuals who covertly supported Jia Heming or spoke positively on his behalf. Unfortunately, Deputy Prefect Guan implicated these sympathizers, intentionally subjecting them to difficulties. Upon realizing that Lord Xiao seemed unaware of the situation, the scribes who were initially aligned with Deputy Prefect Guan chose to remain relatively quiet. However, as the perceived lack of awareness from Lord Xiao continued, they grew bolder, exacerbating the challenges for Jia Heming and his associates. During Deputy Prefect Guan's recovery, Xiao Yunduan visibly valued Jia Heming, eliciting long-standing envy from those who harbored resentment. In Deputy Prefect Guan's absence, they refrained from hasty actions. With the opportunity presenting itself and no objection from Xiao Yunduan, their discontent could no longer be contained. Their actions escalated without restraint, further complicating the challenges faced by Jia Heming and his allies. These individuals took great satisfaction in their actions and showered Deputy Prefect Guan with flattery behind his back. They emphasized the Deputy Prefect's indispensability, asserting that, regardless of Lord Xiao's capabilities, his success in governing An's province hinged on the Deputy Prefect's unparalleled knowledge after years of residency. In their view, Lord Xiao's perceived significance was merely temporary, a consequence of Deputy Prefect Guan's absence due to recovery. Upon Deputy Prefect Guan's return, Jia Heming not only refused to step aside but also attempted to rival Deputy Prefect Guan. This audacious move, using chicken feathers as arrows, reflected a clear overestimation of his own importance, bordering on the laughable. In the inevitable choice between him and Deputy Prefect Guan, Lord Xiao would undoubtedly favor the Deputy Prefect. It went without saying, self-awareness is a crucial trait. Lacking it, one might unwittingly become a clown, blissfully unaware of their own folly. Chapter 1740. Reject. Deputy Prefect Guan completely agreed with the words of the scribes who surrounded him and fawned over him. He deeply agreed with them and felt even more pleased with himself. His courage became greater and greater, and he became more and more unrestrained. He didn't dare to think about it at first, but now he couldn't wait. For example, official accounts. Deputy Prefect Guan knew better than anyone whether there was money in the original government accounts. No matter how poor the government office was, he did not care. Anyway, it had nothing to do with him. Even if he was poor, he would not be poor. Every year, he would gain a lot of benefits from the various large families. He had been hoping to see Xiao Yunduan make a fool of himself when he was asked to do this. But he did not expect that Xiao Yunduan was so rich that no lord of the prefect could do anything about the thousandth of a tael, use it judiciously. However, he had easily resolved the matter. Deputy Prefect Guan felt extremely depressed, as if he wanted to see a joke fall through and become a clown. Despite hailing from a wealthy family, Deputy Prefect Guan, if unconvinced, found himself compelled to suppress his feelings. What took him by surprise was the revelation that the prefect lord wasn't just affluent but possessed an assertive temper. Despite this, the 3 great clans and even the normally outspoken Tiger Head tribe had acquiesced to his authority. Though Deputy Prefect Guan recognized the temporary nature of this compliance, the unprecedented scenario left him uneasy. The present state of the official accounts marked a departure from the norm. The prefect lord injected considerable funds, meticulously documenting each transaction. While the funds were beyond the current deputy prefect's reach, the curiosity to inspect the records lingered. However, Deputy Prefect Guan faced an unexpected obstacle when Scribe Fong, responsible for overseeing the accounts, rejected his request to review them. Seemingly polite on the surface, Deputy Prefect Guan had ostensibly invited Scribe Fong to seek Lord Xiao's approval for document access. While he claimed he could only read it upon seeing it, it was a deliberate move on his part. Fuming with anger, Deputy Prefect Guan was convinced that Scribe Fong, known to be on good terms with Jia Heming, was intentionally siding with him. Determined to inspect the account book, Deputy Prefect Guan sternly issued the order. However, Scribe Fong stood firm, refusing to budge. Outraged and humiliated, Deputy Prefect Guan escalated the situation, commanding his trusted aides to forcefully seize the document. Scribe Fong, equally furious, vehemently resisted. News of the commotion quickly spread, drawing a crowd of onlookers within the limited space of the state office. Jia Heming and his allies rushed to the scene, supporting Scribe Fong, while Deputy Prefect Guan's aides adamantly pressed forward. The confrontation escalated into a heated argument, neither side willing to yield. Jia Heming, with a mocking tone, intervened. The Prefect Lord should decide on this matter. According to the rules, only the Prefect Lord has the right to authorize the reading of the account book. If you wish to inspect it, Deputy Prefect Guan, seek permission from Lord Xiao. Why resort to force? Scribe Hu, backing Deputy Prefect Guan, sneered sarcastically, don't invent rules to give orders. Since when did An's province adopt such absurd regulations? Everything was fine before. You're just stirring up trouble. Can't the Deputy Prefect see it? Even if you consult Lord Xiao, wouldn't he allow the Deputy Prefect to check the accounts? Why go through all this trouble? Deputy Prefect Guan sneered in agreement, garnering nods from those around him. Chapter 1741. Angry. Exactly. Lord Xiao has always esteemed the Deputy Prefect, so it's only natural he'd grant permission. Some people are clueless about their place, huh? Can't you see? With the Deputy Prefect back, someone is feeling uneasy. I agree. Jia Heming's face flushed with frustration. That was in the past. Lord Xiao is the Prefect Lord now. We follow Lord Xiao's directives. Any issues with that? Of course, there's no problem, Deputy Prefect Guan responded leisurely. Well, indeed follow Lord Xiao. However, we don't have to be excessively rigid, do we? As long as the rules are reasonable. We're on the same side after all. If you're so serious, who are you targeting and what are your intentions? I don't have any ulterior motives. I just a euro. If you don't, then let's talk less. Can't we maintain a friendly atmosphere? As the Deputy Prefect, what's wrong with me looking at the account book? Old Hu is right. I can confidently say that if I inform Lord Xiao, he won't deny me the right to review it. It's just a matter of phrasing. Using a chicken feather as an arrow is not entirely inaccurate. Laughter erupted from those around Deputy Prefect Guan. Jia Heming, Scribe Fong, and the others exchanged frustrated glances. While Lord Xiao was absent at the moment, making a big fuss out of a trivial matter wouldn't be wise. Deputy Prefect Guan reveled in his smugness, and Scribe Hu, convinced of his righteousness, glared at Scribe Fong, demanding, Scribe Fong, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and bring the ledger to the Deputy Prefect. Why hesitate? Can't the Deputy Prefect control you? Scribe Fong gritted his teeth. Deputy Prefect, please forgive me. I didn't dare defy Lord Xiao's earlier instructions. Please don't make it difficult for me, Deputy Prefect. Once you obtain Lord Xiao's approval, he'll promptly hand over the account book. You stubborn fool. In front of the onlookers, Deputy Prefect Guan erupted in anger. Trapped in a challenging situation, he forcefully pushed Scribe Fong aside and ordered his trusted aide to snatch the key, open the door, and retrieve the ledger. It was just a ledger, a mere glimpse. How could Lord Xiao possibly take it seriously? In the presence of so many witnesses, if Deputy Prefect Guan didn't retaliate, it would set a precedent for anyone in the government office to challenge his authority without consequence. What would become of his standing then? What prestige would he retain? Scribe Fong, Jia Heming, and the others were eager to intervene and halt the unfolding events. Yet, they were outnumbered and lacked the strength to oppose Deputy Prefect Guan's group. Over the years, Deputy Prefect Guan and his associates had grown accustomed to their tyrannical ways. Their influence permeated the entire government office, making even the Prefect Lord powerless against them. They claimed the lion's share of benefits, leaving the scraps for the rest. With the arrival of the new Prefect Lord, however, their manipulative tactics failed to sway him. Deputy Prefect Guan, undeterred, attempted to establish dominance upon his return. To his surprise, Lord Xiao skillfully navigated the situation, refusing to succumb to his attempts at control. Deputy Prefect Guan insisted on his recovery, showing indifference to other matters. Yet, Lord Xiao didn't yield to his demands. Now, realizing that additional benefits were unattainable, their frustration and anger were palpable. Chapter 1742. Robbery. Deputy Prefect Guan seized the chance to provoke Lord Xiao, capitalizing on his silence to entice others into mischief. Individuals accustomed to enjoying perks were reluctant to relinquish them easily. Wielding the account book, Deputy Prefect Guan taunted Scribe Fong, sneering, "No need to look so despondent. They'll return it once I'm done. What use do I have for this? Can you eat it? You should have handed it over earlier instead of creating a scene." "Indeed. Looks like he prefers the hard way. I extended an olive branch, but he rejected it. He's not shameless, he's just overconfident." "Haha, exactly." Scribe Hu and his cohorts mocked and jeered, escorting Deputy Prefect Guan away. With nothing more to witness, the timid ones discreetly retreated to resume their tasks. Those with a close rapport with Scribe Fong remained, offering support and solace. At that moment, Sun Bai, Qing Yan, and others entered with Xiao Yunduan. Frowning upon hearing the report, Xiao Yunduan inquired, "What's happening?" Lord Xiao." Everyone greeted him hurriedly. Scribe Fong bowed, cupping his hands. "I've disappointed you, Lord." Deputy Prefect Guan took the ledger. "I failed in my duty. Please punish me, Lord." Xiao Yunduan wore a cold expression, his dark eyes inscrutable. The deep red uniform added to his aura of authority. Casting a glance at Scribe Fong, he uttered a few indifferent words from his thin lips. "I've made it clear that if you fail, there will be consequences. You're sentenced to 2 months of punishment. Repeat the offense and it'll be 6 months. Hearts skipped a beat among the onlookers. Some had contemplated pleading for Scribe Fong, but fear silenced them. "Yes, thank you, Lord." Scribe Fong accepted his punishment respectfully. Lord Xiao had warned him earnestly when assigning the task, even offering the option to decline if he found it challenging. Scribe Fong, however, perceived it as a straightforward assignment. After all, wasn't it merely obtaining approval to access various account books? He failed to realize the complexity of the situation in An's province. Back in the office, Xiao Yunduan coldly summoned Deputy Prefect Guan and all the scribes present. Deputy Prefect Guan and his companions were joyously examining the ledger together. Upon seeing over 20,000 taels of silver in the account book, excitement surged. They declared that everyone had worked hard lately and proposed sharing the silver among themselves. With more than 20,000 taels, each person stood to gain a significant amount. One individual grumbled, questioning why Lord Xiao, clearly affluent, couldn't allocate more than 100,000 taels for his own family. Despite repaying debts, he wasn't lacking funds. Why the rush? Any surplus silver should be utilized within the government office first. If Lord Xiao owed money to other families, they wouldn't insist. In their opinion, Lord Xiao was overly frugal. As they discussed, Xiao Yunduan arrived to summon them. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to Deputy Prefect Guan. Chapter 1743. Punishment. Deputy Prefect Guan felt no fear, only a slight thrill of excitement. Winning this confrontation meant retaining control in the government office, and he was determined to emerge victorious. Since Lord Xiao is extending an invitation, let's proceed. Yi stood guard at Xiao Yunduan's office door, permitting only Deputy Prefect Guan inside. The rest were left outside, the door ajar. Xiao Yunduan sat in the main seat with Jia Hemming and Scribe Fong flanking him. Scribe Hu, unfazed, feigned ignorance of the blockade. With a smile, he strolled behind Deputy Prefect Guan as if all was normal. He, brandishing his saber, halted him sternly. "Lord didn't invite you in." A cold gaze from Deputy Prefect Guan supported Yi's stance. Scribe Hu glanced at Xiao Yunduan, who remained impassive. When it became clear that Xiao Yunduan had no intention of allowing anyone else in, Deputy Prefect Guan, with a feigned obliviousness, followed suit. Scribe Hu, conceding defeat, stood among the others. Deputy Prefect Guan greeted Xiao Yunduan with a smile. Lord Xiao, you sought me out. Xiao Yunduan's tone remained cold. Did you bring the account book? Were you waiting for my approval, as Scribe Fong suggested? Deputy Prefect Guan attempted to downplay the seriousness. I plan to inform you later. It's not a significant matter. Xiao Yunduan questioned. Did Scribe Fong not specify that approval was required before inspection? Downplaying again, Deputy Prefect responded. It doesn't need to be that strict. Xiao Yunduan cut through. Am I not your superior? Yes, Euro, but Lord, I don't mean anything else. Nothing. Xiao Yunduan erupted in anger. You blatantly disregarded my words, causing a ruckus in Scribe Fang's office, Euro, smashing, snatching the key and ledger. And now you claim innocence. Deputy Prefect Guan, what if you did have ulterior motives? Planning to steal my official uniform and parade around? Deputy Prefect Guan, shocked and flustered, stammered. Lord Xiao, I genuinely had no other intentions. I assumed you wouldn't mind a trivial matter like reviewing the account book, Euro. Why should I not care? The prefecture's accounts encompass all expenses within its jurisdiction. How trivial is that? In your eyes, it's a minor affair. Deputy Prefect Guan, what position do you hold if you lack such basic common sense? Deputy Prefect Guan felt a surge of darkness but held himself together. Bitterly, he pleaded, My lord, it wasn't my initial intention. Euro. Scribe Fang's words were harsh, and he spoke hastily. I don't know why I acted that way. Please understand. I never intended disrespect, my lord. Xiao Yunduan's tone remained cold. Intentions aside, the fact remains. Deputy Prefect, I am the guardian of An's province. Past matters may not concern me, but as long as I am prefect, my rules must be followed. Despite my repeated warnings, it seems you pay no heed. Are you confident I can't take action against you? I wouldn't dare. Why wouldn't you dare? How dare you falsely accuse Scribe Fong in my presence? Numerous witnesses were there. If I interrogate them, do you believe I won't uncover the truth? Can you fool them with just a few words? Chapter 1744. Interrogation. Lord Euro, Scribe Fong failed to protect the account book. It's his negligence. I'll punish him with 2 months of salary. And you publicly provoked the prestige of the leader and disregarded it. What crime should you be guilty of? Lord. Deputy Prefect Guan's face alternated between red and white. He staggered a few steps and almost fell. I really don't have such thoughts, Lord. This from the beginning to the end, it was just that I was muddle-headed and rushed to say something to Euro. Then I'll punish you. Do you admit it? Deputy Prefect Guan felt suffocated. He felt extremely aggrieved. He wasn't stupid. Realization dawned on him. Euro. He had succumbed to greed and walked right into Xiao Yunduan's cunning trap. Xiao Yunduan wasn't oblivious to his recent actions. He not only knew but also disapproved. The trap had been set, and he had walked right into it. His own confusion played a part. Upon returning to the government office, he discovered a stark difference from the past. Smooth sailing was replaced by turbulence, and the once abundant flattery and favor had dwindled. Fueled by anger and indignation, he sought to reclaim his lost prestige. Xiao Yunduan's stoic silence further fueled his fervor until he couldn't restrain himself any longer. Suddenly, Xiao Yunduan seized on his lapse, delivering a powerful blow. Reality stared him in the face, and he found himself unable to distinguish the intricacies of the situation. His carelessness had allowed this cunning adversary to bewitch him, step by step, until he was ensnared in the trap he had set. Deputy Prefect Guan found himself in a mix of terror and fury, his indignation growing. An inner voice raged, I'm only leveraging my position as prefect. That's all I have. Using it to assert dominance over others. In his mind, if he were the prefect, Xiao Yunduan would be inconsequential. How could he dare to scheme against him? His defeat wasn't to any other force but to the position of prefect. It should have been rightfully his, a culmination of years of hard work. Xiao Yunduan had snatched away the seat that should have been his, intending to degrade him in the process. Ill heed my lord's words, Zero, Xiao Yunduan retorted. You're not heeding me, you're adhering to court rules. Punishment will follow the rules, and any repeat offenses will face harsher consequences. As long as you fulfill your duties and stay loyal to the court, I won't mistreat you. However, misuse of power, deception of superiors and subordinates, baseless deceit, exploiting seniority, or any act betraying the government or me will not go unpunished. The scribes, both inside and outside the room, absorbed the stern words in silence, their heads bowed like cicadas in winter. Especially those harboring ulterior motives, they dared not even breathe audibly, fearing Xiao Yunduan might dredge up their past actions. Deputy Prefect Guan faced 6 months of punishment, with crucial responsibilities transferred to someone else. Reporting directly to Xiao Yunduan meant essentially taking over Deputy Prefect Guan's authority. Henceforth, Deputy Prefect Guan wielded no genuine power. This incident served as a stark reminder for the Scribizero. They were now under the authority of Lord Xiao in the government office. Rules were to be followed, and the past held no weight. Deputy Prefect Guan no longer held the final say. Xiao Yunduan took decisive action, expelling only those directly involved: Scribe Hu, the key snatcher, and Deputy Prefect Guan's enthusiastic lackey from the government office. Amidst tearful pleas, Xiao Yunduan remained indifferent, instructing the bailiffs to escort them out. An official notice was promptly displayed, outlining the reasons for their dismissal, aimed at preemptively curbing any potential rumors from circulating beyond the office's confines. Chapter 1745. Zhao Shu is here. In reality, they likely lacked the courage to do so. Crossing the prefect lord would undoubtedly lead to unfavorable consequences. Deputy Prefect Guan remained silent, not uttering a word on their behalf. It wasn't that he had no desire to speak up, rather, he found himself incapable of doing so. What words could he offer? Xiao Yunduan had no intention of granting him any reprieve, only seizing the chance to taunt him. To onlookers, Deputy Prefect Guan appeared heartless and cold-hearted. Despite the personal motivations of Scribe Hu and the others, many had earnestly supported Deputy Prefect Guan. Now, facing punishment, he didn't lift a finger in their defense. The scribes who initially sought favor with Deputy Prefect Guan recalibrated their plans upon witnessing this unfolding drama. The spectacle that had spanned several days finally reached its conclusion, promising a newfound quietness. This was Xiao Yunduan's primary concern. As his wife's pregnancy progressed, Xiao Yunduan wished for a serene period before the birth. A few days post-Dragon Boat Festival, Zhao Shu, accompanied by Uncle Qing, Aunt Qing, and others, arrived in An's province. Coming from Xiaoding village, Zhao Shu exuded confidence as he knocked on the back office's door in An's province. While Xiao Yunduan maintained an outward calm, he could sense his brother-in-law's deep concern for the Xiao family. The urgency to glean information about the family lingered palpably. Xiao Xian, devoid of any pretense, warmly welcomed Zhao Shu, treating him not only as family but also as a cherished friend. Zhao Shu was elated, going out of his way to be attentive and pleasing towards Xiao Xian. While not inherently scheming, he recognized that winning Madame Xiao's favor would pave an easier path to communicate with Lord Xiao. Preemptively, before any inquiries, Zhao Shu shared updates on the Xiao family situation and handed over a letter from the family's first section. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, after reading the letter, found reassurance in the knowledge that all was well back home. Ms. Fang's joy upon learning of Xiao Xian's pregnancy prompted her to seek blessings at the temple. The letter emphasized Xiao Yunduan's responsibility in caring for Xiao Xian during her pregnancy. Expressing familial concern, the letter urged them to prioritize their well-being, emphasizing that nothing outweighed the importance of their lives. In case of any adversity, they were instructed to prioritize their safety. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan exchanged perplexed glances. The letter Yuezheng Xiao brought back made no mention of An's province. Given the distance, it seemed implausible that their families could be aware of the situation there. Yuezheng Xiao was known for his reserved nature. Xiao Yunduan turned to Zhao Shu, questioning, "How does our family know about An's province? How did they find out?" Annoyance crept into Zhao Shu's tone. "Elder brother Xiao, sister-in-law, it wasn't me. I swear, Uncle Qing, Aunt Qing, and brother Yuezheng, none of them spilled a word." It's all Xiao Lulang. Only he has a loose tongue, only he understands. Zero. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan shared their frustration, muttering, "Him again." As a cultivated talent, Xiao Lulang's expanded social circle likely contributed to his newfound connections. Being cousins, he and Xiao Yunduan were perceived as amicable, making him a likely source of information for outsiders. Chapter 1746. Discussion in the village. It wasn't surprising that Xiao Lulang, being more well-connected, possessed additional information. However, anything that escaped Xiao Lulang's lips was bound to be framed in a manner disadvantageous to the first section of the family. Indeed, that turned out to be the case. Upon receiving Xiao Yunduan's letter, announcing his appointment as the prefect of An's province, the entire family and villagers celebrated. Becoming officials in the capital and local areas was a cause for joy, especially when the role was as prestigious as a prefect, surpassing even that of a county magistrate. Yet, Xiao Lulang created a commotion, asserting that Xiao Yunduan must have offended someone within 500 meters of the capital, leading to his exile to An's province. In official terms, this was labeled as exile. Upon reflection, the capital was directly under the emperor's purview. Every official aspired to serve there, putting forth their best efforts to secure a position. The idea of willingly leaving the capital seemed preposterous. Moreover, An's province wasn't just any placero, it was described by Xiao Lulang as a den of devils, a remote village plagued by bandits. Painting a grim picture, Xiao Lulang, along with third uncle and Ms. Ma, painted a vivid, though entirely fictional, portrayal. According to them, Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian were enduring a wretched life in An's province, their heads in constant jeopardy. Third uncle compassionately suggested to eldest uncle that Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian should return. He argued that Xiao Yunduan, having offended the capital's nobles, faced exile to a perilous location, signaling the end of his official career. In their view, resignation and prompt return seemed the prudent course. Why risk a terrible fate in a place like An's province? Eldest uncle found himself succumbing to internal panic, swayed by third uncle's arguments. The notion of family outweighing all else resonated with Himiro. They lacked nothing at home, and even if Xiao Yunduan relinquished his official position, it should matter little. Life was the paramount concern. Ms. Fong, incensed, scolded third uncle and chided eldest uncle for his perceived foolishness. Is Yunduan foolish? Does he lack a plan? He surely has reasons for his actions. Do you possess greater insight than him? Does the third branch know more than him? She dismissed the notions of offending nobles, exile, and bandit nests as baseless, attributing them to Xiao Lulang's nonsensical ramblings. She questioned his authority to speak on the capital, labeling him as foolish and spouting nonsense, highlighting her trust in her son. Xiao Lulang, recognizing Ms. Fang's displeasure, capitalized on the situation, fueling unfriendly rumors in neighboring villages. The first section of the Xiao family had led Shouting Village to prosperity, with the surrounding villages benefiting from the trade of potatoes, tea leaves, cassavas, and more. While many expressed gratitude, envy and jealousy were inherent in human nature. Certain individuals harbored ill will, eager to hear negative news about their prosperous neighbors. Regardless of the veracity, they propagated it as truth, reveling in the misfortune of others. The Xiao family's first section, enraged, found themselves powerless against this tide of malicious gossip. Zhao Shu arrived at this moment. Furious, Zhao Shu stepped in to support Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian. As a wealthy man from prosperous Jiangnan Hangzhou, his credibility far surpassed that of Xiao Lulang. His arrival in Shouting Village brought assurance and credibility to counter the malicious rumors. Chapter 1747. Clarification. Zhao Shu felt that the current situation warranted more clarification. He dispatched someone to the province to inform Yuezheng Xiao about the misunderstandings and requested his presence if he could spare the time. Yuezheng Xiao, having recently visited An's province, possessed first-hand knowledge of the circumstances. Putting aside his responsibilities, he promptly made his way. A sense of remorse engulfed him. Who could have foreseen such complications arising from a simple letter delivery? Yuezheng Xiao sought to dispel the rumors, offering intricate details about the prosperous state of An's province. Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao thrived there, and Xiao himself had developed a fondness for the region during his extended stay. In fact, he had left his managers and assistants there, with plans to expand the Yuezheng family's business by acquiring a few shops. "Why would I invest if things were amiss?" he countered. Regarding the bandit rumors, Xiao clarified that it was a historical misconception based on the region's terrain. While there were once fugitive bandits in the mountains, it was not a current reality. Addressing the misconception about Lord Xiao's move to An's province, Xiao debunked the notion of exile. Instead, it was a strategic move to gain valuable experience for future promotions, a common practice in bureaucratic circles. In a stern plea, he urged everyone to refrain from spreading baseless rumors. Lord Xiao's return should not be marred by malicious gossip, and Xiao hinted at potential consequences for those who engaged in such activities. The first section of the Xiao family straightened up. Most people came to a realization and expressed, "I see." Everyone felt assured and started to comfort Ms. Fong and the others. The gossipmongers found themselves gripped by fear, regretting their loose tongues and praying that Xiao Yunduan wouldn't return seeking retribution. Suddenly, these very individuals became the most vocal defenders of Xiao Yunduan, vehemently claiming they were misled by false rumors. Survival laws, or nomological laws, governed their actions. The wealth of the Yuezheng family and the even greater affluence of young Master Zhao provided reassurance. Their proximity to Lord Xiao indicated his well-being. Why else would they maintain such close ties? In the world of merchants, materialism reigned supreme. Accusations of jealousy were hurled at Xiao Lulang and the third section of the Xiao family. Despite Xiao Lulang's genuine efforts to convey the truth, disbelief persisted. Frustrated, he couldn't resist venting even more scathing remarks. Ms. Fong took matters into her own hands, confronting the third section and accusing them of maligning her family. She warned that implicating Xiao Lulang in any harm that befell Xiao Yunduan would have dire consequences. Proposing a complete severance of blood ties, she suggested going separate ways to avoid future entanglements. A hushed silence descended upon the third section. The thriving state of the first section meant that Xiao Yunduan's potential lack of official status wouldn't greatly impact them. The couple from the second section, now a subject of ridicule, harbored regret, while the third section hesitated to sever ties. Third uncle and Mrs. Ma, confident in their son's promising future, were unwilling to completely disassociate from the first section, even if they believed he outshone Xiao Yunduan. Xiao Lulang found himself in an awkward position, reluctant to take drastic measures. Opting for a more cautious approach, he chose to be labeled a chicken, a coward, a scaredy cat, and deferred the responsibility to his parents. Chapter 1748, Asking Xiao Yunduan. Ms. Fong sneered. If she wasn't willing, then shut up. Another word, and the third section would have no choice but to agree. The third section was furious, but they dared not utter a word. After the incident, Ms. Fong found Zhao Shu more and more pleasing to the eye. Had he not stepped forward to speak, suppressing the third section wouldn't have been as easy. Sooner or later, she would have to find an opportunity to deal with those ingrates from the third section. Tao Tao was also fuming about the matter. She adorned the gold hairpin with large gems that Xiao Xian had given her, flaunting various pieces of jewelry and pocket money to Xiao Xiaoji. Envy prompted Xiao Xiaoji to run back to Ms. Ma, choosing to vent there instead of crying in front of Tao Tao. Ms. Ma was envious too. Thinking of Zhao Shu only fueled Ms. Ma's frustration. If her daughter were to marry Zhao Shu, even as a concubine, he'd be so wealthy that Tao Tao wouldn't get the chance to flaunt. However, Ms. Ma also realized that it was just wishful thinking. Her son was destined for a high-ranking official position. How could her daughter be a concubine? She had to be the first wife. Ms. Ma comforted Xiao Xiaoji, assuring her that when her brother became an official, he would find her a wealthy family better than Tao Tao's. Xiao Xiaoji continued to cry, feeling a mix of resentment and anticipation. She hoped her brother would attain official status soon, making her an official's daughter too. Bitterly, she pondered her Ajiro. How many more years could she wait? Why wasn't her brother becoming a recommended man, an advanced scholar, or an official sooner? If he failed to become an intermediate recommended man this year, would he have to wait another 3 years? How could he endure waiting for another 3 years? Xiao Xiaoji couldn't help but shiver. Ms. Fang was highly content with the marriage proposal from the first section of the Xiao family, but she didn't immediately agree. Instead, she informed Zhao Shu that Xiao Yunduan was in charge of Tao Tao's marriage, so he needed to seek Xiao Yunduan's approval. As long as Xiao Yunduan gave the nod, Zhao Shu promptly conveyed his intention to visit An's province to seek approval. Though Lord Xiao didn't appear to show much interest in him, Zhao Shu sensed a tacit agreement. Otherwise, Lord Xiao wouldn't have ignored him, let alone permitted the visit. With a farewell to Tao Tao and a goodbye to Ms. Fang, Zhao Shu, accompanied by Uncle Qing and Aunt Qing, headed to An's province without hesitation. Upon encountering Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian, the content of the letter was evident from their brief conversation. Zhao Shu, unwilling to lie, disclosed the truth when questioned. Cursing inwardly, he hadn't even broached the serious aspects of his life, yet he found himself entangled in this scam. Xiao Yunduan sneered. This sixth cousin is quite the schemer. He enjoyed stoking the flames and exacerbating the situation. Concerns about Zhao Shu's potential official career arose. It seemed he might face trouble ahead. Despite the initial skepticism, Xiao Yunduan reconsidered his opinion of Zhao Shu, appreciating his willingness to support the family. The recent discussion about Xiao Lulang had left a lingering tension, but Zhao Shu had to set aside his intended remarks. He updated Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian on family matters, presenting the special gifts they had requested. Gradually, the atmosphere lightened. Chapter 1749. Zhao Shu's proposal. Zhao Shu and his servants took residence in the modest guest room within the eastern courtyard. Xiao Xian, upon learning of his arrival, instructed the kitchen to prepare a few extra dishes and extended an invitation for dinner to Zhao Shu. The family harbored no reservations towards Zhao Shu. As he was destined to be their future son-in-law, there was no need to entertain suspicions. Eager to proceed, Zhao Shu, along with his hosts, shared a meal together. As they sat in the parlor sipping tea, Zhao Shu finally rose, offering a deep bow to Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian, and broached the subject of marrying Tao Tao to Xiao Yunduan. The air froze. Xiao Yunduan raised his eyebrows. Xiao Xian looked at him and then at Zhao Shu and smiled. She didn't say anything. She knew very well what her husband was thinking. This matter had been going on for so long. It was time for an outcome. Otherwise, it would be unfair to Zhao Shu and Tao Tao. It wasn't that her husband held any disdain for Zhao Shu, but he found it difficult to part with his only sister. As Xiao Xian contemplated Xiao Yunduan's silence, on the verge of suggesting a need for further consideration, Xiao Yunduan interjected, "Is this how you propose?" Taken aback, Zhao Shu's nerves kicked in immediately. "Huh," he stammered. "I am very sincere, Brother Xiao. I promise to treat Tao Tao well, sparing her any grievances. I'll ensure her happiness every day. If not, Brother Xiao and sister-in-law, you can hold me accountable. I won't have any complaints and I won't take a concubine. Not even a maid. I'll be loyal to Toteo." Xiao Yunduan shot him a glance, halting his rambling. Elder brother Xiao, unable to contain herself, Xiao Xian let out a snicker. This brother-in-law truly lacked any temper. Where could she find such a wealthy and easily manageable brother-in-law? After this instance, such opportunities would be scarce. Xiao Yunduan couldn't endure it any longer. "If you want to propose, at least do it properly, right?" Zhao Shu remained nervous, his thoughts in disarray. Brother Xiao, whatever you want to I'll do it." Xiao Xian, unable to contain herself, burst into laughter. "Young Master Zhao, find a matchmaker to discuss this with our family. We lack nothing. Tao Tao is our only girl, and we can't bear to see her suffer." Xiao Yunduan shot his wife a glance, knowing she understood his intentions, unlike Zhao Shu, who seemed oblivious. Ecstatic, Zhao Shu's eyes lit up. "Really?" Feeling a bit foolish, Xiao Yunduan threw him a look. Suppressing her laughter, Xiao Xian said, "Certainly true. Remember your promises to Dairo, treat Tao Tao well and spare her any suffering." Zhao Shu's grin reached from ear to ear. He nodded vigorously. No worries, no worries. Sister-in-law, brother Xiao, rest assured. I'll treat Tao well, I swear. No need to swear. Well judged by your actions. If you disappoint Tao Tao, we won't let you off. Since you're genuinely interested, go and formally propose. Whether she accepts is up to Tao Tao. Zhao Shu continued, nodding with a wide smile. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, brother Xiao, sister-in-law, for making my wish come true, hee hee. Chapter 1750. Consider it agreement. Certainly, Tao Tao would be willing. She liked Zhao Shu too, and their exchanged glances spoke volumes, despite their lack of physical intimacy. Tao Tao's blushes during their conversations were telling, and she had graciously accepted the thoughtful and expensive gift he gave her. While the gifts weren't exclusively for Tao Tao, hers was particularly lavish and considerate. If it were intended for her alone, she might have hesitated. In return, Tao Tao had gifted him with various food specialties. Although he secretly desired items like a handkerchief or pouch, he refrained from asking, understanding that such gifts were not easily given by girls. Her restrained nature only deepened his admiration. Even Aunt Qing and Uncle Qing praised her for understanding boundaries. Once engaged, they would be family, eliminating the need for such reservations. If he expressed his desire for a handkerchief or a sachet, would Tao Tao willingly provide them? He had carefully chosen many gifts for her, investing considerable effort. Surely, Tao Tao would appreciate them. Not only could he freely exchange gifts with her, but they would also have the opportunity to converse privately. Perhaps, he could even touch her hand. Surely, Tao Tao wouldn't object, right? The more Zhao Shu dwelled on these thoughts, the more delightful they became. He couldn't help but break into a foolish, happy laugh. His expression was too obvious. Xiao Yunduan raised his eyebrows and got very angry. Xiao Xian coughed and said to Zhao Shu, "Young Master Zhao, you must be tired from the journey. Go back and rest." All right. I won't disturb your rest. Don't worry, elder brother Xiao and sister-in-law. I'll get some matchmaker to propose tomorrow. With a smile, he added, "I'll go too." Xiao Xian found it funny, thinking that he was not tired at all. Zhao Shu left happily. His feet felt light, as if he was floating in the air, feeling refreshed. What he had pondered for so long was finally materializing. After a prolonged period of weighing pros and cons, he could finally find solace. The weather was truly splendid. The moon shone brightly, and the stars scattered across the sky. Upon Zhao Shu's departure, Xiao Xian couldn't contain her laughter. She cast a playful glance at Xiao Yunduan and remarked with a smile, "From now on, you ought to treat young Master Zhao even better. After all, we're family." Xiao Yunduan sighed and took hold of Xiao Xian's hands. Reflecting on the swift passage of time, he mused, "Tao, in my mind, remains petite and young. I never expected her to be betrothed so swiftly. I hope Zhao Shu keeps his word and treats her well." Xiao Xian smiled gently. "Young Master Zhao seems genuinely caring. Our Tao Tao is a wonderful girl, and their future should be bright. Moreover, with my husband by their side, there will be an added layer of protection." Rejuvenated, Xiao Yunduan smiled at Xiao Xian. "For the sake of my wife, our children, and our family, I must persevere. At the very least, he needed to continue his official duties. Accumulate experience and merits, secure a higher position before contemplating other plans." Xiao Xian chimed in. "It's not as dire as it seems. Even if my husband were to retire from officialdom, with our current wealth, no one could intimidate us. No need for him to burden himself excessively." Xiao Yunduan laughed, drew Xiao Xian close, and planted a gentle kiss on her. "I know what I'm doing. Don't fret, my heart will Akiro." The two shared a smile, and Xiao Xian's heart softened as she nestled into his embrace. Time flew by swiftly. Tao Tao was on the verge of marriage, and they were soon to be parents. Chapter 1751. Excited Zhao Shu was overflowing with joy, so much so that he couldn't sleep a wink that entire night. Uncle Qing and Aunt Qing shared in his happiness. Witnessing his excitement, they found themselves torn between laughter and tears. Anxious to make preparations, Zhao Shu needed to return to Yuzhang the following day. While not as prosperous as Jiangnan, Yuzhang, being a provincial city, offered access to goods from both the north and south. The marriage proposal was merely the beginning. The actual purchases would take place in Yuzhong. Afterward, he planned to acquire a spacious house in Yuzhong province. This would not only serve as a convenient residence for him and Tao Tao but also accommodate the betrothal gifts he had prepared in Jiangnan. Anticipating his brother's extended stay in An's province, Zhao Shu considered buying a house there as well. When Xiao Yunduan settled down, Zhao Shu envisioned picking up Tao Tao and her mother to visit and stay for a while. Surely, Tao Tao would be delighted, earning praise from her mother-in-law. Amidst his joyous planning, Zhao Shu overlooked the fact that his future mother-in-law was the Lord's biological Sonayuro, an official in An's province. It only made sense to stay with his biological son, not in a house bought by his son-in-law. Xiao Xian advised Zhao Shu to rest for a couple of days before departing, and Xiao Yunduan shared a few words with him. While Zhao Shu was eager, he realized he was fatigued from the lengthy journey. Besides, given the care shown by fifth brother and fifth sister-in-law, he decided to grant them some face. Indeed, young Master Zhao was taking a proactive approach, having already adjusted his way of addressing Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian as fifth brother and fifth sister-in-law. Xiao Yunduan was momentarily surprised by the change, but he neither corrected nor offered any suggestions. Instead, he silently consented. Feeling increasingly self-assured, Zhao Shu's self-importance grew. Xiao Xian chuckled inwardly. This Zhao Shu was truly entertaining. Having spent 2 days in An's province, Zhao Shu embarked on his journey to Yuzhong, serving as a messenger for Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian. Ecstatic, Zhao Shu set off without the accompaniment of Aunt Qing and Uncle Qing. They watched with smiles, sighing with relief. Young Master's marriage is finally settled. Shortly before the new year, the clan leader sent a letter urging Zhao Shu's swift return to Euro, for no reason other than his impending marriage. Since Zhao Shu's adoption, numerous individuals within the clan eyed his marriage prospects. The threshold of the clan leader's family was nearly worn down. The clan, relatives, and friends were all fervently eager to share potential matches for Zhao Shu. After all, the wealth of Zhao Shu's family, bereft of direct elders, was immense. Just the 100,000 mu of mulberry fields alone generated an annual income of 700,000 to 800,000 taels of silvera euro, a staggering wealth that many dared not imagine. Success in marrying into the family would make the in-law family Zhao Shu's closest relative and elder. This opportunity promised newfound prosperity, tempting many. The patriarch's daughter-in-law, faced with the realization that her maternal family lacked a suitable girl for marriage, was on the brink of despair. She had missed a golden opportunity and was determined to rectify it. Who wouldn't be enticed by such a favorable arrangement? Now, with nothing else to occupy her thoughts, the patriarch's daughter-in-law resolved to assist anyone willing to offer sufficient benefits. Chapter 1752. Dumbfounded, she accused Zhao Shu of being overly petty. In a logical sense, Zhao Shu had adopted the patriarch's late younger brother, making the patriarch's family his elders. Therefore, it was only fair for him to delegate responsibilities to manage his business. However, Zhao Shu remained adamant, even resisting the pressure from the clan. He hadn't returned, making it inappropriate to press the matter further. This time, they called him back for 2 reasons: his impending marriage and the desire to intervene in his business affairs. Even if they had parted ways, they were still his elders. When the time came to reprimand him, he would have to show some deference. The Zhao family clan buzzed with activity, resembling a revolving door or a game of musical chairs. The patriarch's wife assumed an air of importance, as if she held Zhao Shu's family matters in her grasp. Upon Zhao Shu's return, his eyes gleamed upon hearing the patriarch and his wife discussing the marriage. Feeling slightly embarrassed, he smiled and admitted, I originally planned to inform you about this upon my return. I've taken a liking to a girl and was about to propose. The patriarch and his wife were taken aback, exchanging astonished glances. This person had actually set his sights on someone outside the clan? Unthinkable. He couldn't possibly do this. Quickly, the patriarch's wife interjected, Shu, you're still young and inexperienced. The world can be treacherous, And with your family's wealth, you need to be especially cautious outside. Who knows if others have their eyes on your assets? Falling prey to those with ill intentions could lead to trouble. The patriarch nodded in agreement. Zhao Shu felt displeased upon hearing this. He swiftly clarified, "Auntie, you've misunderstood. The girl I like comes from an exceptional family. Her brother is the newly appointed primus by the emperor this year. He currently holds the position of a fifth-ranked minister-counselor in the Ministry of Revenue in the capital and enjoys favor from the emperor and the crown prince. How can such a family not be esteemed?" The patriarch's wife froze in surprise. However, the patriarch's expression soured. Did that girl personally confirm this? Something doesn't add up. While I may not be well-versed in bureaucratic matters, don't all new primuses join the Hanlin Academy initially? It takes several years to progress to the 6 divisions, right? Moreover, attaining the 5th rank Kyouro, this is a significant official position. How could one suddenly rise to such a rank? The patriarch's wife chimed in, "Exactly. It's obvious that this is a fabrication. If you can concoct such a ludicrous lie, what does it say about your character, Kyouro, Auntie?" Zhao Shu interrupted her unhappily. "You've misunderstood. I spent a considerable time in the capital and happened to become friends with the newly appointed top scorer, Lord Xiao. I only discovered his sister later. How could this be a lie? No one would dare fabricate such a story. Brother Xiao is exceptionally capable and stands out among the primuses. The emperor and the crown prince hold him in high regard, so it's not surprising that he achieved a 5th-rank position at such a young age. If Uncle doubts my words, you can verify it by asking around in the capital." Though Zhao Shu felt a twinge of guilt for not disclosing Xiao Yunduan's impending departure from the capital, he wasn't lying. Everything he said was true. While working with Qiao Xian to resolve the Zhao family's issues, he refrained from divulging certain details to maintain credibility. Yet, he wouldn't permit anyone to besmirch Tao Tao and the Xiao family. He went so far as to enlist Uncle Qing and Aunt Qing as witnesses to support his claims. Chapter 1753. The Lu family won't do it. Uncle Qing and Aunt Qing exchanged nods in agreement. These two were not just ordinary aides. They were pillars of support left by Madame Zheng for Zhao Shu, and their words held immense weight. The patriarch and his wife found themselves unable to counter their stance. Sharing a meaningful glance, the couple realized they had no choice but to let go of their objections. Zhao Shu's choice in marriage surpassed the standards set by his family. There was no logical reason for him to reconsider. Besides, given the prospective spouse's popularity with the crown prince and the remarkable achievement of being a 5th-grade official at such a young age, Zhao Shu's future seemed boundless. The patriarch dared not risk offending such a significant figure easily. With a few words of blessing, the patriarch dismissed Zhao Shu, leaving him to rest. Once Zhao Shu departed, an unspoken conversation passed between the patriarch and his wife. The patriarch sighed, breaking the silence. "Let it be. Regardless, Shu treats us well. His choice will benefit the Zhao family in the long run." His wife sighed in agreement. Though lingering reluctance remained, they had to concede. Zhao Shu's generosity, especially during festive occasions, was undeniable. The New Year's gifts and the 15th of August brocade, with each piece valued at 300 taels of silver, showcased his affluence. The silver alone amounted to a generous sum of 5,000 taels. Comparatively, Zhao Mu paled in comparison. The matter seemed settled, but when the patriarch's wife confided in her cousin, Mrs. Lu, about Zhao Shu's choice, Mrs. Lu was taken aback and displeased. Initially confident in the match, Mrs. Lu had assumed Zhao Shu, with no other elders to consider, would naturally heed the suggestions of the patriarch and his wife. She had already envisioned the calculation of Zhao Shu's assets. Mrs. Lu had meticulously planned everything. Once her youngest daughter was engaged to Zhao Shu, she intended to have them married within the next 2 to 3 months. Considering Zhao Shu's age, it was high time for him to settle down. Post-wedding, she envisioned a stint at Zhao Shu's residence to assist her daughter in managing the household. Anyone deemed unruly or disobedient would be promptly dismissed. Her strategic move involved entrusting her son, daughter-in-law, 2 other daughters, and son-in-law with the responsibilities of the Zhao family's business. They were family, and Mrs. Lu insisted on their active involvement, unwilling to let outsiders take charge. Mrs. Lu felt empowered to scheme in such a way because she perceived Zhao Shu as vulnerable, lacking parents or siblings. In due time, she would become his mother-in-law and the closest elder in his lifiero. How could he possibly resist? Mrs. Lu went so far as to inquire about Zhao Shu's assets, piecing together enough information to fuel her excitement. As she shared her plans with her family, excitement rippled through them as well. Despite Mrs. Lu and her husband urging caution and discretion about their newfound wealth, their secrecy didn't last long. Once the news broke, it spread like wildfire. The sons and daughters-in-law of the Lu family, unable to contain their enthusiasm, inadvertently leaked the information. Despite fervent warnings to keep it under wraps, word got out. Rumors echoed throughout the community, with even the youngest child in the neighborhood supposedly aware that the Lu family's youngest daughter was on the verge of marrying the wealthiest man in Yangzuoyero, Zhao Shu. The Lu family's fortunes seemed destined to soar. Just as the Lu family reveled in their imminent prosperity, the wife of the Zhao family's patriarch abruptly instructed them to abandon their plans. Letting go of such aspirations proved to be an unbearable task for the Lu family.